All right. Okay. And so we are now live. This is Saturday AM Pitch Sessions, episode one. This is a brand new show we're going to be doing here on YouTube that enables us to do something that is very popular with a lot of you guys and has been for a number of years, which is where we talk about upcoming comics, manga, web comics that are produced by amateurs and professional, and we give it a critique. We actually talk about all the elements of it that we can see and what we think about it. I think the key thing here that's a little different is that this is really targeted to the idea of pitching. So the idea of actually taking a concept and getting a publisher like Saturday AM interested in what it is that you are trying to produce. And through that, we actually get into the heart and soul of kind of creating comics, everything from, what it feels like to actually create something and get critiqued with it, what it feels like to create something and produce excitement, just a variety of things from that standpoint. So we're really excited with this show, and it's again something that we've gotten a lot of feedback on over the last 4 years, that people enjoy it when we do critiques, whether it's March Art Madness or the old pilot manga group that we had, which was very popular. This is a show that we think is going to be really exciting for a lot of people and really informative. So as always, we are kind of low tech with Saturday AM. We're a small company. We're trying to get things to the level that can make us bigger. And fortunately, you guys are supporting us so much that that's just a matter of time. But as it stands, we're going to do things maybe a little differently than what you might expect, meaning that you're not going to see things as clearly as you might want. We're not going to have time to we don't have a sophisticated setup. We can go through all the pages of a comic and things like that. But we're all going to try to infuse this conversation with as much visual cues than we have in the past. And so with that, I'll be kind of sliding through things here on the screen. Hopefully you can see all of that. And we'll try to make this as informative and enjoyable as possible. So with that being said, my name is Frederick Jones. I am the founder and publisher of Saturday AM, the world's most diverse shonen manga anthology. We have just reached issue 89 in 4.5 years. We're really proud of that fact. We feature over 16 different series from creators all over the world, from Nigeria to Nicaragua to New Zealand and beyond. And so we're really, really, really proud of that fact and proud of what the brand has inspired many other people to do. We're really happy with this first episode that we're joined by Jin Chan Yum-Wai, who is the creator of High School Romance, which is a great series you guys may have seen. And he's more importantly a creator for us for a series called Zero, King of Thieves. And we are really excited by Zero, King of Thieves. It debuted in issue 74, and it just returned as a regularly engaged, serialized story within Saturday issue number 89. So with that, Jen, are you here?
Yep, I'm here.
Cool, Jen. I know people are going to hear your accent and everything, and I use the China thing because folks, you guys not keep it real. Hey, it's marketing. He lives in China. He's got Chinese roots, so I think it's great. China right now is a really big player on the world stage. But when people hear your accent, obviously they don't sound like you're from China. What is your kind of backstory a little bit?
Okay. Well, my backstory is a little complicated, but the simple answer is I'm Australian. But it's also more than that. I think in a lot of ways, my backstory is like what Saturday AM wants to represent. My dad is born in Mauritius, which is an island in Africa. And then his father, my grandfather, was Chinese, so that's where I get my Chan Yum Wai from. And then my mum is half Welsh, half Australian, so it's like I'm from everywhere. So yeah, that's my backstory, really.
No, that's great, and I love, like you said, I really love the fact that I love what you represent, just because again, that's just awesome. It's just that's what Saturday AM is, and we talk all the time, about various things, in regards to just diversity and the importance of it and things like that. And so it's always awesome to have a chance to just see that in action and just see people who diversity for you is literally just that's who you are. You're someone who's got a lot of mixed culture. You've been around the world. Again, as an American, it's always fascinating because a lot of Americans rarely get out and see the rest of the world, even though we're very opinionated about the entire world. So so that's great. And again, it's a real honor to have you as part of Saturday AM. It's a real honor to have you on this chat. So again, I want to thank you for helping us kick off pitch session. So with that being said, again, folks, we're going to kind of run through a couple of titles. So now, if you don't know, let's just start off with some of the basics here. If you do not know, we are, we have this, trying to think of the right way to put this. We have, God knows I'm having a brain fart. We have an event called Summer of Manga. And so Summer of Manga is, it's an event that basically goes around the world and gives people a chance to tell a short story and therefore be published within Saturday AM. And so from that perspective, what makes us really excited with it is that, we have a chance to see amazing talent. We have a chance to see this talent display what they're capable of doing. And it's really awesome to be able to give people a chance to be seen by a larger number of people. I think what's always frustrating for people in the internet is that, even though nowadays we have web comics and we have so many web portals that are out there, it's really difficult to have your work seen because there's so many people now doing it. If we could, obviously go through the number of websites that are out there. Jen, you had High School Romance on a couple of websites, right?
Yeah, I had it on Webtoon and Tapastic, and it's hosted on its own website. So I try to get it out as in many places as I possibly can. Exactly.
And so, so there are obviously great benefits to that. If you guys don't know, Jen just had, for example, a Kickstarter that was very successful. It allowed him to print the first volume of that, and hopefully we'll be in a position to make some of that available to you guys here in the United States that might want to, want it. Now that you've gotten a chance to meet and hear about Jen, or if you're enjoying Zero inside of Saturday AM, his other series. But again, the idea of Summer of Manga was that, we would get approached, and we still do, by so many people around the world who love what Saturday AM stands for. And they wanted to basically get us to publish them. And the challenge with webcomics, on one hand, you have really talented and focused creators like Jen who put it on a variety of places. Now, Jen, I think it's fair to say like High School Romance wasn't like the most popular series on those other platforms, right? Like it was, it had a great audience, but it wasn't like the top series.
Yeah, like I think on Webtoon, it became like within the top 5 comedy series for about a week. But, it doesn't stay there. Like you're in a pool of thousands and thousands and thousands of other creators that are all pushing for that spot as well. So it's hard to be seen. So it definitely wasn't the biggest one on any of those platforms. Like it didn't get close.
Right. And my point in saying that obviously is not to dismiss High School Romance, because it's a great series and I hope you guys will check it out. But the point of saying that is just to shed, again, this is meant to be an informational sort of show, or to be a show that's educational, And so from that standpoint, Jen did something cool. He took his property and put it everywhere, and yet it still, wasn't able to penetrate some of the top webcomics that are out there. What it did do was allow him to build an audience. And I think the key things, Jen, and please, give me your thoughts on this, but the key thing with that was that not only did you have it available in a lot of places where people had the potential to discover it, but then you were doing it regularly, right? This wasn't something you did and then you stopped for a couple of months or a year. You did it regularly until you completed. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. Well, yes and no. There were points where I stopped doing it because of reasons, and yeah. Well, it's too much to get into now. But in those points, once I didn't do that, the audience dropped a huge amount. Like subscribers would go, like if you're not getting content every week, then people just get bored and leave. And so it is really important that once you're doing it, you're constantly updating it and having like a regular schedule that people can follow. Because if you don't do that, you just lose everyone and they forget about your series, because like it won't come up in their notifications anymore and stuff like that. So
And
Yeah,
there
it is
are
really
thousands of other
important.
comics out there. I mean,
Yeah.
every let's put it this way: every day you're not putting your comic out there, someone else is. And
Yep.
so if someone's got a chance, because by the way, they weren't paying you to read your comic, right?
Well, Webtoon was, but others were not. No.
No. I'm not. I ain't talking about that.
Oh,
But the people weren't paying
people.
for it.
Yeah, people are not. People are not.
Right. And so
And
my point to that is that, free is free. And so if you're sitting there and people aren't seeing your title and it's free, and all the other comics up there are free, if you're not feeding that beast of someone that you've attracted, either you've done a really good job to where you can take a long break and they'll come back, or someone else, they'll find someone else to read.
And I think another to jump off that point, even if your comic is free, and it's funny because you're interesting when you think it's free there, so you can kind of do what you want with it, but your audience feels like they're entitled to something. And so every time I would upload one page, which is, it would take a few seconds to read, but obviously that's a lot of work for me, doing it in my spare time. And I would get comments every update saying, this is too short. Why isn't it 5 pages long or something like that?
Wow.
And it really eats at your heart. You're like, I'm not getting paid for this. I don't owe you anything. So your audience will feel entitled even if you're not making money off it. It's a really interesting dynamic there.
That is interesting. Yeah. So I think the reason I brought that up, folks, is to say that, when Saturday AM got started, one of the whole tenets of Saturday AM was that we created a magazine. And the reason why we created the magazine was because we believe, and we still believe 4.5 years later, that that format, people understand it, people gravitate towards it. It makes it easier to follow things. And so, it just gives a better balance to the experience. Obviously, we grew up reading American comic books or Shonen Jump or those types of anthology formats. And so for us, that just makes more sense. Also, Saturday AM is something you got to pay for. I mean, you got to subscribe to it to enjoy it. I mean, you don't have to. We have free content available as well. But if you really, really want to follow it the best way, then you have to subscribe. And I think in both cases, again, going back to what Jim was talking about, I think consistency matters. Being in something like Saturday AM, where it's a very concentrated format to where people basically put content out there, is going to a very specific audience. Again, Line Webtoon, as Jen said, he had a comedy. It was like maybe top 5 comedy. I don't know what Line Webtoon's metrics are. I don't know if top 5 comedy is top 100 or top 1,000 of their overall comics. I don't know. I don't know what people go there to read, but I know Saturday AM, the content that we have is curated content, meaning that we have content that we believe people will enjoy. And so far, we've been very fortunate that they have. So it's different. But with Summer of Manga, what we wanted to do was give those young people, or those people, period, who contact us, we wanted them to know that there is a way with Saturday AM for you to reach an audience. And what it's not is taking, every person who writes us and say, oh, hey, well, I want to get my comic book inside of Saturday AM. We could say, hey, wait, time out. Like that. We're not set up that way. We can't do that. We can't publish everybody. Otherwise, we would be like these other websites that Jen is talking about. And that's not who we are. But on the other hand of that, we want to publish creators who are serious. As Jen indicated, he took a break. He came back. He finished the series. How long did it take you to finish the series from when you started? What was it, 3.5 years, 4 years?
Once it started as a web comic, yeah, that's about as long, through 3 years.
Okay. So, folks, I've said often, if you guys watch any of the previous videos, this stuff isn't easy. It's very lonely. It can be kind of bankrupt sometimes. And so, when you do it, you have to be really made of strong stuff to be able to do this, compete with it, and kind of see your way through to the other side and have a book like Jen does and continue to make fans like Jen is doing. So again, Summer of Manga was set up to really kind of accommodate that sort of creator, meaning that ultimately what we want to do is help creators pitch their comics better. And so Summer of Manga is set up to really force you to have to explain what it is you're going to do. And you're going to see in this episode the good way to do it, the bad way to do it, and what the results are. The second thing that Summer of Manga does is that it forces people to understand deadlines. If you don't have a good read on deadlines, folks, it's going to be really hard. You might be able to get away with it on a webcomic site, but it's going to be really hard to make it in the professional comic book arena. And then last but not least, what Summer of Manga does is it forces people to learn how to tell a story. And at the end of the day, that is the crucial element. You're not going to build a fan base, and you won't keep it, I should say, if you don't know how to tell a good story. And so artwork can be, you know, up or down in terms of quality. It's very subjective, but a good story will always bring people back. And so Summer of Manga is all about storytelling. So this is why this event exists, and pitch sessions will basically use Summer of Manga for these episodes we're going to do in the summer to really kind of try to dig in and kind of explore that for people so that they can hopefully walk away with a better understanding of how to pitch their comic, how to create their comic, and how to ultimately build an audience with their comic. And so that's what we hope you guys will get out of this. We've got more episodes to come, so hopefully this first episode, you'll give us a little bit of time here because it's going to be a little wobbly as we kind of get things working here. But with that being said, then, Jen, you ready to talk about the first title we're going to chat about?
I am ready as ever.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that. But you're ready, though. All right, so let's get to it then, folks. You can see here, see the little thing pop up on the bottom of your screen. That's me hunting through here, trying to find the first comic that we're going to discuss. And the first comic we're going to discuss,
Hello.
Jen, can you hear me? All right, folks, and I can see the live chat going. So if you guys can't hear me, please let me know, because like I said, we are not the best tech here, and Jen is out of China and stuff, so I know quality can go in and out sometimes. But with all of that being said, I want to talk about our very first series. Now, this young woman's name is Caitlin Kelly, and she is an artist. She debuted with us, or people may have first heard about her when she created some artwork for March Madness. Now, what you're seeing on screen here is actually the image that she created for her March Madness entry. Caitlin, we liked it a great deal. It did not make it past the first round of March Madness, but we did like it a great deal. It featured Wonder Woman and Batman versus Black Panther and Okoye, one of his Dora Milaje. And it was just cool. I mean, it was great because it was just a neat idea to kind of put these characters together. It was a neat idea to kind of bring together the Marvel versus DC element, which is something that we had told them they had to do or could do as an option for this particular round. And we thought she did a marvelous job. Obviously, there are some limitations here artistically, but some things that we really enjoyed were some of the color, and then just some of the energy in the piece. The piece has a lot of feel to it, and so we really thought that she had a lot of potential. And when we created Summer of Manga for 2018, Caitlin did reach out and submit to us a concept, and the concept was called Eidolon. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read to you the pitch that she made for Eidolon. In fact, I think I can show it to you on screen. Bear with me just a moment here as I kind of pull it up. Again, this is one of those things where you're going to see me going through things here. Actually, you're not going to see it on screen. My bad. So, Eidolon. Let me read you the pitch then. Okay, so Eidolon, it was Full Metal Alchemist meets Ano Hana. Full Metal Alchemist meets Ano Hana. So now I'm going to pull up some of the artwork here for Eidolon, and I'm going to turn to Jen and talk with Jen a little bit here about what he thought of Eidolon. Now, if you all want to read Eidolon or the next title we're going to talk about, you can find both of them in issue 88 of Saturday AM. We will have links for all of these things, including how you can find Caitlin and how you can find the other creator on their social media accounts. We'll have all of that listed within the written section here on our YouTube page. And then we'll probably edit this video to include some of those on screen as well. But with that being said, Jen, what did you make of Eidolon? Did you read it?
Yep, I definitely read it. I think the first thing that I noticed when I started reading it is that how ambitious it was for a short story. Like you
Hmm.
have like five characters that all have complicated history with each other. They all have their own kind of powers. So it's a lot to fit in. I Was it 22 pages? Her
No, it was no 15.
15. Okay. It's a lot to fit in such a short amount of time. Um, and admittedly, I think the first time I read it, I was a bit lost. I wasn't sure what was going on.
Hmm.
Um, but reading it again just before this show, it was clearer to me. Um, but yeah, Caitlin's art is really, really good. I think that there's a couple of things there that that um there's a couple of reasons to why I think it was unclear to me the first time
Hmm.
when reading through it, and I think it's because of how um complicated the story is, one, and then number two is how she puts a page together. um and we can go in more detail on this a little bit later.
Yeah,
But those together made it really hard to follow.
yeah,
But I now that I've read it again and understood what she's going for, like I said, it's very ambitious.
yeah.
I'm not sure if it completely comes together for me,
Right.
but it's a really good try. Like, I'm glad that she, went for something like this opposed to maybe taking an easy out.
Hmm. Yeah. Look, feel probably similar to you in regards to this. I mean, look. So first things first. For me, let's talk a little bit about what the pitch was. Uh, Full Metal Alchemist meets Aho Nana. What the hell is Aho Nana? Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is.
Me
I don't
not
know what that
the
is.
slightest idea. And so we're going to talk about here in a minute, folks. We're going to talk about uh, pitching and how to do it and what it means. But uh, that's just the first rule I've got. That's one of the rules I have is when it comes to pitching is that please don't give people the name of something that few people know about. It's like if I have to look in a dictionary to understand what you're referencing, then you've already lost me. And that was kind of how I felt here with this. So now, we had everyone do a second. We did well. So I'm looking at the live comments, and I probably shouldn't do that, but people are saying, well, many people know Ahau I think I represent a huge cross section of people. I do not know Anohana, and so I'll say again, a lot of people, the correct thing to say here is that many people know Naruto, many people know Dragon Ball, not many people know Anohana. If you're a manga anime fan, you might, but folks, again, this is something we'll talk about this again. But when you're trying to get something published, trying to assume that they're fans of what you're fans of is a fool's errand. That is a literal fool's errand. That is not the job of a publisher to be fans of your esoteric ideas. A publisher's job is to publish stuff that will actually sell, stuff that will actually be successful. And so, again, Naruto, know what that is. Dragon Ball, know what that is. Full Metal Alchemist, know what that is. If you've got to compare this to something that very few people know about, then already you're starting at a weak hand. Now, what we ask people to do is to provide us additional information if we were intrigued. And we were intrigued because Caitlin did two things. One, we went to her Instagram page and we saw artistically what she had. Two, because she had been in the March Madness competition, we also knew what she was capable of, including an illustration she did, I believe, from a character from Eidolon. And that's what piqued our interest. So what we did was we looked at the talent of this young woman and we saw that she was capable of delivering stuff that had a lot of interesting character designs to it. And one of the things that stood out to me when you look, particularly at this color image here, is that there's so many. There's a big hair, a lot of big hair. Does this remind you, by the way? Because Jen, I know you're much younger than I am, but does this remind you of anything when you see it?
Um, the only thing that's coming to mind is Afro Samurai, but it's because he has an afro.
Afro Samurai, Jesus, no, dude. This is what this
No,
reminds me of. Bastard. Have you ever heard of Bastard?
I've heard of it. I heard it. I haven't read it though.
Okay, it's an old series, very old series. But look at the character designs. Just look at the kind of wicked, over the top sort of character design for this is for the regular hero, but then he becomes Dark Schneider and things like that. When you see Bastard, this is an old school series, and this is what appealed to me the minute I saw Caitlin's stuff. Now, Caitlin, I'm confident, is very young. So I doubt Caitlin knew what this was. So I highly doubt Caitlin was thinking of this when she created it. But this immediately caught me because I remember Bastard from the 80s, and I remember the kind of the big hair. Like everybody had big hair. You're in Eidolon, they all have big hair. And so I'm looking at it, I'm thinking like, wow, that's kind of cool. Like, you know, these characters kind of have, because this is like, you know, this is kind of 1980s pure heavy metal. You know, the creator of this was really into heavy metal, and so he went with that sort of style, and so it kind of gave this sort of like, you know, feel, kind of like big energy and so forth. But you know, I liked it. I thought it was really cool, and I thought, like, you know, for me, when I looked at her character design, I thought, man, this girl can create some really wild character designs. And so so you know, that stood out to me. The expanded explanation she gave for the story stood out to me, which is basically, you know, again, we don't want to spoil it, so people obviously go read it. It's free, so you can go read it on our website right now. But but what I will say is that the general consensus of the story, or the general conceit of the story, I mean, is that there are 5 very powerful characters who are having to kind of regroup, kind of come back together. If you've read recently, what's a series that kind of does that? 7 Deadly Sins. It's not quite that, but it's not like that at all. But 7 Deadly Sins, you know, we're at the beginning of that. Melodious has to assemble the 7 Deadly Sins again. It's kind of like that. You know, these characters are they're kind of curious to come back together. They're not sure if they should, and so one's kind of struggling with this overall thought of doing it. I totally agree with Jen. I think for a short story, there were 2 things I think that kind of made this really complicated and made this potentially difficult for people to enjoy. One, 3 things actually. 3. Artistically, I think, as Jen indicated, I think that artistically, Caitlin, as I said with the March Madness piece, you know, she's still got a ways to go. You know, she still has an element that she's got to construct regarding the relationship between characters and the backgrounds. And, you know, I think he's trying to switch the thing with camera angles, but there were too many camera angles for me that were too static, looking at characters from the, you know, from the chest up and so on and so forth. But there were moments that were really strong. But again, overall, it lacked a lot of, it didn't fit together as nicely as you would have liked. The other part of the artwork is layout. You know, if you're an artist, you're going to be a comic book artist, layouts are crucial. And so some of the layouts here are really tight, really busy. They're not constructed very well, so the draftsmanship is not great. And because of that, everything feels just kind of compressed. And when it feels compressed, and then the other 2 pieces I was going to say is that I think she's got a story here she's trying to tell that is, and this is why we tell people not to do it, but she's trying to basically tell a story that she's already got written. And, you know, we tell people, give us an original short story. You know, we tell people it can use your characters. So if you've got a story that you want to sell to Saturday M at some point, that's like an 18-volume epic, obviously we think that's not the right move to make for any young creator. You know, just create something and be successful with it, like Jen did with High School Romance. But if you're going to, you know, do something, again, with Summer of Manga, we try to take the problems that exist when young creators who've never told a story immediately think they can tell Naruto or Dragon Ball, and we say, look, just give us a short story. We're going to give you 15 pages, 20 pages, what have you, to give us a concise short story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. This reads to me like this is a big story that Caitlin has. I have no doubt this is, because again, it's reminded me of something that she submitted before with her March Madness piece at the very end that we requested that people do so that we could let our fans know how to find them. But anyway, this to me felt like a story that was trying to be a story. So basically, she's got a story that she wants to tell, this big opus. Obviously, I don't believe at this point that she's ready for that. At least not with Saturday M. But from a short story standpoint, there was enough interesting elements here that we wanted to see what she could do. And what she did was take this big story, cut it into a scene. You know, oh, my big story is this, but there's a small part of it regarding these characters trying to get back together. I'm going to make that be the story. And then the problem with that is that we get back to what Jen said at the very beginning of this. It's hard to tell what's going on. There's so much stuff happening, so many characters that you're not properly introduced to, that it just doesn't come across nearly as strongly as it could have if this was an original story that just focused on one, story point. Um, that was my read when I looked at this. A lot of stuff I liked. Again, I like some of the character designs. I think there's a couple of panels I thought were really good, and there's some elements with the story that I think are inventive. But by and large, though, I mean, I don't think it worked nearly as well as it could have, because I think she was trying to do what many creators try to do. So it's not on her, but this is why we tell people, don't do this. If we're giving you a shot to be in Saturday AM, don't chance the opportunity to create a fan base amongst our fans by trying to squeeze it, by trying to stealth sneak your story that you think is going to be the next big thing when you've never done this before. Don't do that. Do what we literally asked you to do. Do a short story. Come up with a short story. It could be about two people meeting each other for the first time, and they discover that they really like each other, but one person's married, one person's this. Or it could be about someone who discover they got superpowers, but then they do something really bad, and they're like, "Oh man, should I become a supervillain?" Like, I mean, you can have any sort of concept that's a short story. We introduce the character. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. Anything. But when you're trying to do like I said, that's the plot of this short story. Is these 5 characters with this advanced history as part of this giant epic. We're dropped in with this one little scene about how one character is struggling about whether or not they'll get back together. That's problematic. So what did you I mean, do you disagree with that, or?
No, I completely agree with that. And I think I think even I notice, like, I don't get everything that Fred gets, but I can see comments and stuff on the Facebook page. And whenever it's Summer of Manga, it's the number one question is, can it be my chapter 0 for my ongoing series? It's always that. And you shouldn't, when you're doing one of these short story things, that's not what you should be thinking about. I can use 0 as an example. 0 was never meant to be an ongoing series. When I wrote it, it was that short story and that short story alone. And then I never thought about it going further. And then that's why I think it comes together tighter. I don't necessarily think it's perfect, but it's a tight story. You get the whole thing, and the reader should be satisfied with that one product that you have. And I think a lot of people try and use like what's happening in Japan, or what they think happens in Japan, for people to get a series like Dragon Ball and Naruto. But like, people forget, or people don't know, that Dragon Ball started off as a one-shot by Toriyama called Dragon Boy. Like, there were elements of Dragon Ball in there, but it's not the same story. And that was one complete story. And then when that was popular, they asked him, okay, you can stop Dr. Slump and try and do something that's similar to this. And so that's why they're not the exact same product. But people don't hear that story, so they just assume that it's like his chapter 1 was the pilot. And so that's different. Then just like a couple of art notes. I'm looking back at it on 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 4th page, there is so the way that Caitlin does her panels, it's just a line. There's no gap in between the line. There's no panel border. It's just a line. And so what happens here is, if for anybody who has the book or has access to the story, if you check out page 4, I think what Caitlin wants it's hard to tell. For me, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be 5 panels, 4 panels, or 3 panels. So, because I think there's walls behind the character, which also are just a line. So I can't tell when the panel begins and the panel ends. Like, is that just the background? I don't know if you can see this, Fred, but yeah, it's very, very, very confusing. So when people are creating doing these panels, it's always good to have that gap. That gap is there for a reason. It's if you just have a line, everything blends together and you have no idea when the panel begins or when the panel ends.
Right.
And then another thing that was confusing, and I want to bring this out, is that and there's a couple of times when there's like a large wall of text. I guess it's like a huge monologue.
Right.
And then the problem with it is that the speech bubbles start from the right and then move to the left, as in a la manga. Because the Japanese read from the right to the left, but in the West, we actually read from the left to the right. So when I get to these pages where there's like heaps of text, I don't know where to start. It's like I should be reading left to right, but the most right dialogue box is higher. It's very hard to explain. But remember, try and keep the reader's eye going from the beginning of the page towards the end of the page. So if you're using the Japanese format, then the correct way is the first thing that they say starts on the right-hand side. And then if you're reading it from our perspective, which is the Western way, we start from the left-hand side of the page and go to the right. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind for a lot of creators, that even though we're making manga, we're not Japanese, and we don't read that way.
I'm so glad you said that. I mean, I've said this for 4 years on videos and stuff. And when I go to conventions, and speak about diversity in manga and so forth, I talk about this as well. But I think, the key for Saturday AM success thus far has been that we have a very, very specific view of what it is we're doing. And I think sometimes when I look at people who are competing against us or other groups that are out there, I think one of the challenges with it, and look, this is the world, everyone's, I'm an American, so I believe obviously in freedom of speech and freedom of thought. And so at the end of the day, everyone's free to kind of interpret what they're going to do themselves. And that's where creativity comes from. But I think Saturday AM's view has been succeeded because it's been very, very, very specific. And what Jen just indicated, like, we're not Japanese, so we don't try to be Japanese. There are elements that we take and use and that we believe represents what manga's essence ultimately is, and there are elements that we don't. So there were art styles that we still consider manga because there are different art styles in Japan. But the one thing that you don't see us do often is try to replicate the experience of reading a Japanese manga, where you've got some of the special effects presented in such a way, the font and the type presented in such a way, the speech bubbles presented in such a way, because it's very confusing and it doesn't always flow very well for Western audiences. And the fact of the matter is that a huge percentage of our audience is Western thinking, at least, and that includes in Far East Asia. So that I think that's 100% accurate. And of course, the point about Naruto and Dragon Ball and stuff like that. I mean, they all started with a pilot chapter. So again, I think again, coming back to Eidolon, I think what would have been interesting with Eidolon is if Caitlin had said, look, this is the epic I want to tell at some point in my life, but here's what I'm going to do for the short story. In other words, I'm going to take the concept, the theme of what this series is meant to be about, and I'm going to distill it down into this. And you know what? If I'm able to do the series later, this has nothing to do with that, right? You get what I'm saying? Like, it's the same themes. It might be the same character, but this is not going to be canon to what comes later. You get my point? And I think that's where so many young people get stuck. We've seen, Caitlin's by far not the first, but we've seen it so many times where they've got this artificial wall that they're putting themselves, they've got an artificial box they're putting themselves in. Again, that's why we say do a short story. Just do a short story. A, I promise you it's harder than you think. And then B, if you can nail it, if you can do it, it will prepare you a hell of a lot better to telling your epic story than anything else will. But trying to do this, I'm going to set up this story and it's going to apply to the story I tell later. I think that's always the gigantic mistake. Even Clock Striker, which is one of our biggest titles, Clock Striker, the first 21-page story that we did from issues 33 through 35, the first, or 32 through 35, the first 3 issues that, or first story we did, you know, even though it is Clock Striker, she looks the same as she does in the regular series. Everything about it's the same, but there are elements in terms of her background, her backstory, even how we talk about the Smiths, which is the group that she is a part of. All of that is different in the short story than it is in the actual story. And we didn't try to, you know, lock ourselves into that. We had a concept we felt really strong about. We put together a short story at the beginning, a middle, and an end. People loved it. And then when we finally unveiled the ongoing series, we changed it. We changed elements of it that we felt would make better sense for a story, for a long, epic story. So again, I think that's kind of the key elements here that we just have to try to look at. And I'll say again, and in fact, let's talk about the pitch, because I see some discussion still about Anohana. And again, Jen, how old are you?
I'm 30.
Damn, so Jen is older than he looks, folks. Jen looks like he's 15, but Jen is 30 years old. I am 44 years old. Let me say this again. We are very much a part of the manga anime community. In fact, I have a background in the video game community and met many of the people who make the anime that you guys love, or at the very least distributed and marketed here in the United States. Has nothing to do with esoteric anime series that no one's ever heard of. So with that being said, let's take a look at some rules that we've got here.
Well, I would say one more thing about like Anohana. Like if you went to, for people at home, if you went to a comic book convention or an anime convention, would you see that series?
Of course not.
Everywhere on the wall.
Of course not.
So that will tell you whether it's popular or not.
And here, and let me just stop for a second, because I think again, like this is where you know this is one thing that people seem to love, even though you know they'll give me shit for it later. But this is always the thing I find hilarious about this sort of element with the internet. No one is telling you that hey, what we're saying is the way it is. What we're saying is the way it is for us. If you want to believe differently, you knock yourself out. But as Jen just indicated, I do have to stop for a second and say, folks, please do not demonstrate just how young you are or just how isolated you are, that you would literally have an argument over Anohana. You know damn well that if you went to a convention, handful of people are going to be out there representing Anohana. You know that. The fact that it, you know, that these posts that people are making, like it was one of the biggest things in the anime community, then that tells you how small your community is.
The anime community
right now is very small in the grand scheme of things. If we go right now out there into any convention around the world, you tell me you're going to see more people dressed as Anohana characters as opposed to Naruto, as opposed to Full Metal Alchemist. Again, this is not a question about whether Anohana is good. In fact, I now may try to look for Anohana. But the point that we're trying to make here is that if you are going to debate something to that level, because you're that determined to prove that Anohana is a great series, then you are missing the point of successfully pitching a comic book or anything. Successfully pitching a novel, successfully pitching a video game, successfully pitching a movie. Let's talk about the pitch.
I think it's also important to know that like, even though we like work in the comic book industry, I am drawing comics. Like in my spare time, I am drawing my comic 90% of the time. I don't have time to read other people's stories. And that's probably the same for everyone in the business, right? And so if you're just showing like bombarding them with, well, this works, you have to think about like the people that you're talking to don't have the time to read every single manga that comes out or watch every single anime. If
they are in business that you are trying to be a part of, then please make the assumption that they are not a part of that bubble. They may fraternize with that bubble because they're in the business, but they are not. You know, I said this a long time ago, folks. Again, I've got tons of videos out there. Go check out the videos we've done with Saturday over the last 4 years since I started the company. But folks, I said this all the time. Do not confuse likes as being fans. A fan gives you money because they're prepared to not eat or drink or wear something that their money would go towards otherwise, because they'd rather get something new from you. That's what a fan is. Just because someone gives you a free like button does not make a fan. The same principle of that applies to the notion that when you are trying to get someone's attention, when you're trying to get into an industry, please assume that the industry is the industry. Its chief objective is to be successful. Its objective is not to be ideologically pure to what you consider things to be good. So if you're pitching a concept to them, make sure you're giving them something that they can hang their hat on, that is something that they can recognize. If you're telling me that you've got the next hot movie, but you're pitching me two movies that were movies that didn't make a bit of money, they were two small independent movies and so forth, but you want me to help you produce a movie, and you can't tell me the movie's like something that succeeded in the past? Oh no, yeah, man, I want to make a movie like Rocky Horror Picture Show meets Plan 9. Two movies that literally made no money. Yeah, they were cult hits after the fact, but they made no money when they came out. They were straight duds when they came out. People lost money when they came out. If I'm your money person and you're coming to me saying, hey, I got an idea, it's gonna be these two things, and I expected to do just like that at the box office, why in the hell would I give you money for that? If these two things were failures to begin with, you need to convince me that this works. Let's talk about this pitch session, folks. Let's talk about this pitch session. Rule number 1, keep it simple. 4 to 6 words. This meets that. Why is this a pitch rule that works? Because the term for pitching comes literally from the idea that you're on an elevator. That's why they call it the elevator pitch. You're on an elevator. You run into your favorite actor. You run into a producer. You run into a movie director. You run into a comic book publisher, Joe Quesada, Jeff Johns, Jim Lee, Akira Toriyama, someone of stature who can help you get your comic book, get your movie, get your script out there. But they're busy. As Jen just said, he's busy doing stuff, creating comics and other stuff. He's not up on all the latest anime and so forth. That's not huge. He's not up to that. And I certainly am not. So when that is the case, and you've got 15 minutes, in some cases 3 to 5 minutes, then you've got to give them something that's going to make them stop before they have to hop off the elevator and go to the meeting that they've got, or go meet the fans that they've got, or go to the booth that they've been scheduled to appear at, or go to the panel they're supposed to be at, or go catch a flight to go back to some country or city that they're going next to. You got 2 to 3 to 5 to 15 minutes. Then what do you got to do? You got to give them a pitch that is simple, to the point, and takes one concept and puts it with another concept. That is what's going to either make them say yes or no. Really simple. Yes or no. I'm interested, or that sounds stupid. So again, the reason we hopped on this Anohana thing is that we hadn't heard of it. And so if this was a pitch in that context, and you ran across someone who had an opportunity to produce your thing, then please explain to me how you would spend that 3 to 15 minutes telling them you haven't heard of Anohana? Anohana is the biggest thing in the anime community last year. Oh my God, you haven't heard of it? Well, let me tell you all about it. You would waste your time telling someone about a series they've never heard about? Or would you give them something a bit more realistic that they have heard about, that you can then say, it's like this meets that? If I told you right now I've got a series concept, it's going to blow your mind, and it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Meets Batman. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sit there and your mind's going to work it out, because you know what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is and you know what Batman is. Your mind's going to start playing games. It's going to start going, that sounds kind of cool, or that sounds stupid. But guess what? That's what a pitch is. Because either they're going to say yes or they're going to say no, but you've got them. You've given them something really quickly, and they're either into it or they're not. And guess what, folks? There's no right or wrong to that, because that's what the real world is. If you made a comic book tomorrow, as Jen said, you know, when you get your stuff out there, it is what it is. Either they're going to like it or they're not. You can't second guess what's going to happen. That's what creativity is all about. You come up with a concept, you stick your guns with it, you produce it the best you can, and it either works or it doesn't. That's what a pitch is as well. Go out there and give them that concept. Number 2. Oh, crap. That didn't work out. There we go. Rule number 2. Sorry. Rule number 2. Have an online portfolio. Have an online portfolio. I am always blown away when I do not see this. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. That I am always blown away when I don't see this. You want someone to publish your comic book, your manga, your anime. You want someone to make your movie, and you don't have anything to show them. You've not actually done, even attempted to do what it is that you want someone to give you professional legitimacy to do. You might as well make your pitch be Anohana meets Anohana, and then watch them walk out the door and say, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Because that makes no sense. You have to literally be someone who is proven on your own without any incentive or backing that you are so much about this that you've done things with it and you're not afraid for people to see it. When I hear people say, well, I can't do an online portfolio because, I don't know. I don't have, my own website. That's okay. Instagram is pretty much every artist's online portfolio today. Facebook fan page is pretty much everyone's, create a Facebook fan page is free. All these things are free, by the way. I'm not telling you to spend money. Tumblr, Tumblr's pretty much dead as it is, but hell, Tumblr. Or you could make your own website. Again, let's go back to what Jen said at the very beginning of the call, for those of you who just joined us. Jen Chan Yemwai, one of our great creators, new creator. He's on the chat with us tonight, giving some great advice for these young creators. Jen is a 30-year-old young man from China. In China, he's creating a series for us called Zero King of Thieves. He just concluded a successful Kickstarter for his book, High School Romance. And he did High School Romance on not one, not two, but 3 different websites to try to build a fan base that worked out for him. It wasn't the top series, wasn't the biggest series, but he created it, he did it, and he was able to actually enjoy enough fandom to be able to successfully create a Kickstarter. And he's now got a graphic novel coming out for High School Romance. Jen had his series on 3 different websites. There's no such thing as not having an online portfolio. If you're serious about being a comic book artist and pitching a comic book, you damn well have got to have an online portfolio.
I just want to add one more thing here, and Fred will definitely confirm this.
Yeah.
And that is, if that High School Romance being on those websites got me the 0 gig, because when I sent the pitch,
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Fred went to that site to see, oh, well, he can actually draw comics. He can lay out a panel. And that's how I got the 0 gig. So, yeah, you can't just have nothing when you're trying to do these things. Like, there needs to be a point of reference. Can this guy draw characters, facial expressions? Can he lay out a page properly? So,
That's right.
All that hard work paid off in the end for me. And now I'm part of the Saturday AM team because I did do that and I put it out there and I let people see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, like I said, I've talked to so many people and I know that we've had so many young people try to get down with Saturday AM in the past. And I know this is always not a sticking point for them, but this is always, I think, this is the biggest, line for people to cross, because either I hear both sides. I've heard 2 things the most. I mean, I hear all sorts of excuses, but the 2 things I've heard the most is either, well, I don't want anyone to steal my artwork. And folks, again, in this day and age, it's like I'll never forget. I was in a business meeting. This was years ago, and this was years ago, folks. But again, I'm old, so this was years ago. I will never forget this. I was in a business meeting, and I was getting me and this other guy. He was trying to be big. He was trying to be big time and stuff. And, I don't know if he was threatened by my background or whatever. He was trying to be big time. And he made this really dumb comment. I still remember to this day. He's like, no one can track me. He's like, no one can track me. We were talking about the power of technology. I came from the technology industry. We were talking about the power of technology and how, pretty much companies know everything about you. This was years ago. So this was before Cambridge Analytica, before Facebook was selling your data. But, Google was out there. All these companies were out there. Facebook was out there. So, and he goes, well, that's because he was like, yeah, no one knows anything about me. I don't live off the internet like that. Oh my goodness. Like, trust me. That's why I don't do anything on the internet. We're like, really? And I just remember thinking to myself, like, we set this meeting up on the internet. We did a Google Calendar on the internet. We paid for our coffees with credit cards. He and I were, connected to each other via LinkedIn. It was such an ignorant sort of idea, folks. The idea you're going to stop someone from stealing your artwork if they want to is ridiculous. You can't live your life worried about someone like that. What you've got to do is make sure that when comes time for you to take the rewards, the recognition from your work, that it is out there, it is seen, you can claim it, you can propose it, you can support, you can show it, you can present it. That's why you've got to have an online portfolio. Like Jen said, he would not have gotten the gig of Saturday, and this is true. And Zero is nothing like High School Romance, nothing like High School Romance. But we saw that Jim was an extraordinary artist, a committed artist, and we just knew this guy's got it. So for those of you, by the way, with that story that Jim just told, who were like, well, man, I don't want to have to go through Summer of Manga to do this. Well, now you know. You don't have to. You don't have to. If you're talented and you got a comic out there already, and we look at that and say, oh, man, this person's talented. Let's work together. There you go. All right, rule number 3. Submit your best. Submit your best. It's that simple. Sounds really, really dumb, but it's that simple. Submit your best. Why am I putting this in here? Because it never fails to amaze me when we do a Summer of Manga event, and we'll advertise it, folks, like 2 months in advance. We always advertise like 2 months in advance. We'll advertise it, and then the minute we set up the page that you can go to fill out and actually then submit your short story pitch to us, we get like 30 people already in there. We're thinking stuff like, damn, like they don't know the rules, this, that, and the other. And then literally the next day, we'll get like 10, 12 emails from people saying, oh, hey, you know what? I just realized, man, I submitted you my Instagram. I set that up wrong, or my Instagram is the address on there is wrong. It's incorrect. Or man, hey, I just I don't like that story concept. Can I submit another? And we're thinking to ourselves like, folks, if you are going to demonstrate that you are that, and let me use the parlance of the kids nowadays, thirsty to be published by Saturday AM or anybody, then you might as well not do it. There's a difference between being aggressive and ambitious and just being desperate. And when you are coming across like someone who is so desperate to get your stuff out there, which I just don't understand that. Again, let me say again, I don't know the percentage, maybe 20%, but that's still too high. Of the people that I'm talking about who submit stuff early, maybe 20% of the people who submit stuff early, folks, I can promise you that they have their online portfolios, their Instagram accounts locked. It's on private. And you're sitting there, you're thinking like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding? Like, you rush to get this thing out. And then now I go to it and it's on private. You never unlocked it so that we can see what you did. And so again, or my favorite is they'll put not applicable, like they'll put NA for a online portfolio. Which again, if you maybe you didn't know that Instagram counts as online portfolio. Maybe you didn't know Facebook counts as online portfolio. Hey, I'm not going to knock that, but then don't submit your content until you know. Send an email before you submit it. Folks, I'll say this, I'll always say it. You would not expect to get a job on Wall Street with no college degree and walking into the meeting in flip-flops, cut-up jeans, and a T-shirt that has Booty Man written on it. No one's going to hire you at a corporation like that unless you're literally like being hired to be someone dressed like that for a TV commercial. You've got to put your best foot forward. You've got to submit your best. If you're not prepared to submit your best, then why submit? Always take time to look at what you're doing, think about what you're doing, and put the absolute best representation of you and your talent out there before you choose to submit your work.
I'd also like to add a couple more points to this. Usually with your submit your best, if you're coming up with ideas for your short story, chances are the first idea that you have is the worst one. So don't just go with it. Think about it. Even ask your friends, ask family, how do you think this can get better? People that you trust to give you like actual feedback. And so, that's how you get to your best, right? A lot of people just think the idea that comes to their head and they're like, oh, that's great. And then they don't think about it anymore. They're like, this is the idea. And then they won't sway away from it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about submitting your best is if you rule number 2, if you have a portfolio and have a website, look through it and try and delete the stuff that doesn't need to be there, right? If you've got these really ugly drawings that you drew like a billion years ago, then delete them. Like, it's good to have a smaller amount of artwork, but shows how good you actually are, opposed to putting everything on there.
But I actually I'm not quite sure on that one, but keep going. I'll talk about that in a minute. But go ahead.
Oh, well, because like I think a lot of people will just keep everything on there, and so if you have like a proper website,
yeah, I think I know where you're going with it, and I think there's a slight caveat I would make to what you're saying, but you keep going. I'll address it.
It should be. I feel when you're creating these websites, you should curate them yourself, right? Like sometimes when you go to websites, all your artwork is jumbled, like randomized, like depending on whether you use a Tumblr and stuff like that. Make sure that the best stuff that you have is right in front of people's eyes when they get there. Or maybe segment it but maybe Fred has other things, but that's like a personal thing for me. Like, if you have drawings there from when you were in high school, though, I think a lot of people who listen to this are still in high school. Like,
probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
So look, then this kind of ties into Rule 4: be diverse, and obviously this is a big thing to me. Let me address this point that Jen just made. Definitely don't disagree with Jen in terms of, again, you want to have your best stuff out there. Totally agree with that. That's the point of rule number 3. But I do want to say something about that, because I think sometimes, look, I as a publisher, I take great interest in seeing the development of an artist. So if I go to your profile, your Instagram, your Tumblr, and I can see images you did years ago, I can see images that you did recently, I can see that you've actually grown. And I like that. I think that is totally appropriate. I think that does not detract from what it is. On the flip side of that, however, is rule number 4. Here's what I do not like to see, and then here's what I expect you to curate to what Jim was talking about. Number 1, what I do expect to see is lots of example of your artwork. So when I say diversity here, folks, I don't mean diversity racially, okay? Because I know some people get caught up on that. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that I want to see sequential artwork. I want to see different camera angles. I want to see character designs. I want to see different characters. We have one guy right now who is very talented. This young man is so talented. And I won't reveal the character, because that way then I would be putting him on blast. But this young man, who is desperate to work with us and is really talented. I'm going to be very blunt. This young man is bonkers talented. The only thing I've ever seen him draw is this one comic book series. If I said the name, you probably would be able to find him pretty easily on Instagram. But it's the same comic book series over and over and over and over. I mean, I'm talking like he updates or posts 3 times a day, and it's the same damn concept. I've never seen him draw a different series. I've never seen him draw something original. And so again, I want diversity, because diversity is what tells me that you can actually last doing this. If you are one trick pony, if you draw the same thing over and over again, well, that's great, but that's not going to help you make comic books. Unless Marvel's going to hire you to draw Spider-Man, because you really like to draw Spider-Man, or Disney's going to hire you to draw Batman or Viz is going to hire you. Viz is not going to do it. Shueisha is going to hire you to do the next Dragon Ball and Naruto. Folks, that's not happening. If it does happen, more power to you. But even then, you're still going to have to draw other stuff. You're still going to have to draw backgrounds. You're still going to have to draw, the Batmobile. You're still going to have to draw the Joker, Robin, Alfred. I'm just using Batman as an example. This artist does not draw Batman. But my point being is that, folks, if you do not have artistic diversity, different body styles, different backgrounds, showcasing different characters, showcasing different camera angles, showcasing sequential artwork versus just illustrations, then you will have a tough time making that jump. You've got to have diversity. Now, here's what I don't like to see. Here's what I would far rather you kill on your Instagram page or Tumblr page versus illustrations from when you were in high school. Because look, if you're in high school and you produce, but let's by the way, keep it real, Jen. We have guys who are in high school who are working for Saturday AM now. People like Dan Tularchevek and Helena Quintanilla, folks who are massively talented. So some folks are really talented in high school, but let's not get it twisted. But at the same time, the thing that automatically always tells me this person is not serious is when you have more images on your Instagram of you, your friends, your dog, your house, your cat, you playing football, you lumping on the TV, memes that you're making fun of other people in, which is already a bad thing to do. I mean, we all tease each other with memes, but if you're out there posting public memes, making fun of fat people, that says everything wrong about you. You might as well be rolling up in the Booty Man t-shirt, torn jeans, and sandals, because that is not what someone that you're wanting to publish your comic book wants to see. I don't want to see your personal life. I do not care what you do. As long as you don't hurt people, as long as you don't, demean people, as long as you at least try to be a decent human being, then that's okay. I just want to see your artwork because that's what I'm judging you on. But if you show me that you are a despicable person, if you show me that you are a mean person, an ignorant person, well, then now I have more of that to view than your artwork, and I'm going, like anybody, to make a decision about you. You want me making a decision about your artwork, not about you. So what I don't want to see is that crap. What I do want to see is your artwork. And let me just say this for those of you who are like, oh man, that's kind of harsh. Man, on Instagram, all my friends go to it. Then create a second Instagram page. Trust me, if you go right now and look up, Instagram does this very much, has lots of models on there, young women, young men who are, very handsome and very attractive, and they model, go to all these fancy parties, and they always dress up and take nice pictures and so forth, yada, 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 yada. Folks, I'm telling you right now, go look at any one of them and then marvel at how they actually have 2 or 3 Instagram accounts. Oh, this is my page for personal stuff. This is my page for when I work out. This is my page for when I try to support other people. This is my page for when I wear lingerie. This is my page for when I do professional modeling. They have different pages for several reasons. There's lots of reasons for it, but they have several pages because they recognize that this is a business and they're in the business of selling you something. If you are going to try to get into the comic industry, you have to understand you're in the business of selling your artwork, of selling your ability to be a great artist. And that means, first and foremost, that you put your best stuff out there. So once again, folks, just going through our lists. Rule number 1, keep it simple. A pitch is literally that. If you can't excite me in 4 to 6 words, 2 to 3 minutes, then you're not going to excite me. And if you stick to that rule and give me a pitch that's that simple, and I still don't like it, well, c'est la vie. It's no big deal. That's life. Lots of people will like stuff you do and then not like other stuff you do. Rule number 2, you need to have an online portfolio. You need to, period. Bottom line, you need to have an online portfolio. You cannot try to be a comic book artist. We're talking about artists, not writers, if you don't have an online portfolio. Shame on you if you don't. Rule number 3, submit your best. You're not in any hurry. As Jen said, half you guys are underage to begin with. You are not in a hurry. We will do Summer of Manga again. We will have another round again. When you look at the talent of part of Saturday AM and you say to yourself, I'm not really at that level, then don't. There's no reason for you to rush. live life, learn, find out stuff, but but have a chance to just kind of figure things out. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to rush into doing anything.
Sure. And also just like on that, like we established I'm 30 years old and I've only just got my first ongoing series within Saturday AM. So like I think that's also something to keep in mind, is that if you're not willing to wait till you're 30 to have something in there, maybe you're not ready for this industry. Like, I'm not saying that you can't get in when you're younger, but it might take that long. And so you have to be willing to, work very hard for a long time.
Absolutely. And then rule number 4, of course, folks, again, be diverse. And this is not about diversity in terms of gender or race, although those things obviously matter and are important. But at the end of the day, this is about diversity. Do you have lots of pieces of artwork? Do you have lots of different types of artwork? Are you drawing the same character in the same pose, post after post after post? Because if you are, then you're not showing what you can do. That might be a great image you've done, but you are not showing what you can do. And yes, I'll say again, I see somebody up there using the alt-right terminology of SJW crap or whatever the hell. And dude, this is probably the wrong thing for you to be on, buddy, because we don't believe in SJW, anti-SJW or whatever it is you're probably supporting. But at the end of the day, what I will say is this. Folks, the world is changing. It is very diverse. So you know what? If your comic book is just about white people or just about white-looking people, probably not going to do very well. You got to learn how to draw everything, folks. That's life. That's just life. It's like trying to be an actor. Yeah, well, I want to be an actor, but I want to be in that whatever this young man said, SJW crap. I'm not trying to be, somebody who's broke. Well, guess what? A lot of characters in movies are broke. So you probably not going to go into the movies only playing rich people, only playing beautiful people. You might not be beautiful. So learn how to do other things. Learn how to draw other types of things. You'll go further that way. All right. So now we've given out the rules for how to have successful pitches. We're now going to talk about our next series we want to talk about in this episode, which is The Vow by Jamie DeJong. Caitlin Kelly, by the way, let me just say real quickly, again, I want to give a shout out to Caitlin Kelly, because this young woman, again, is majorly talented. You can read what she did inside of issue number 88 of Saturday AM. It is free. It is on our website. Go to www.saturday-am.com/issues, ISSUES, folks. Do that. If you do that, you'll have a chance to go. You can download the issue right now, and you can tell us what you think. But this is one of the characters of Caitlin Kelly. Again, I love Caitlin characters' character designs. I love Caitlin Kelly. I love even the kind of way she colors as well. I think Caitlin has got a tremendous future creating comic books, and I just hope that she's able to kind of, take the feedback we gave today, recalibrate the story she's trying to tell, slow down, get a little better with her page layouts, get a little better with kind of, pacing herself with story. But I think that she's got a fantastic art style. What did you make of some of her art overall, Jim?
I really like her art. I really like there's this cool attitude that all these characters have. I think she's definitely majorly talented, and the fact like she got into Saturday AM at all proves that, right? Sure. Regardless of how we think of the final part, the fact that she's actually in the magazine shows, she's definitely got something.
She does.
Yeah, and her characters are very cool. They're very, very, very cool. And so yeah, I can't wait to see more from her.
I agree, Caitlin. We're looking to see more from you. Keep going. All right. And folks, if you want to check out Caitlin's work again, do it issue number 88 of Saturday AM. And there's a survey in there, folks. Take the survey and tell us what you thought. Now, next up, we have The Vow by Jamie DeJong. She's actually from the Netherlands. Really, really talented young lady. And this was her story. Let me read to you what her pitch was. And now Caitlin stuck to our pitch setup. Jamie didn't, although Jamie did stick with the number, but she took a different route. So what she did was she said, this is a short historical romance with a plot twist. So once again, we went to Jamie's page. We went to check out what Jamie did artistically. We thought this woman is clearly very talented. And then when we asked for additional information, she gave us a better understanding of the story. And I got to say, this is probably one of my favorite stories that we've published that is not a part of Saturday AM since we started Saturday AM. is simple. The artwork is very manga centric. It's got a lot of energy to it in a subtle way. It's unabashedly shojo, which I've said before, folks. I'll say it again. Saturday AM is for everybody, and so shojo is totally cool. So people have asked, like, will you guys ever publish shoujo? Yeah, of course we would. If we got a great shoujo pitch, we would. And the Vow is one of the few that we've done.
Good story is a good story.
It is, exactly. That's right. What did you make of it?
I really like it. I think in a lot of ways it's like a perfect short story. It has a very good beginning, middle, and end. We get introduced to all the characters very clearly. We know who everyone is. And it's very well told. Actually, the pacing of it is also very good. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised. I was reading something like, this is really fun, and something that I would, if there were more hijinks in there, I think it would be a really fun series.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this was just really good. I mean, there are so many elements here that I liked, and first of all, I mean, you can see here with one of the first pages here. I mean, Jamie DeJong is capable of doing backgrounds and stuff, and the character. I'm trying, I'm just because I'm old and I've been reading manga for a long time. I'm trying to place what her art style reminds me of. I swear, I just do not know what art style. I just don't know what art style it is. But man, this she reminds me of kind of like your classic shoujo artist or classic shonen artist from like the early 80s, like Leiji Masamoto. Like she's got that kind of, the characters are thin, kind of have that thin, I'll tell you another artist who we have who kind of creates characters in that way, and that's Morgan Walker of Soul Beat. But they just kind of have this lankiness, they kind of have that kind of lanky sort of feel. I don't know. I really, really, really liked this a great deal.
I think her art style is kind of visual novel-y, like this visual novel video games where it's just like talking to people, dating simulators and stuff like that. It's got that kind of that's got that kind of tone. But it's very clean. And it's very easy. So this is like the big thing that problem I had with Eidolon is I had no idea what was going. But with this short story, it's very clear what's happening. It's not just clean in terms of art style, which is definitely very clean, but like the layout, the way the pages are all paced, it's all very clean and very good.
Great. I totally agree. I think that
the panel that you're showing right now is the page that you're showing, panel 2, where the main character is doing a good pose. That is like that's like a genius work there, because you kind of, from that one panel, what kind of person she is. Right. And it's totally visual storytelling as well. We're not told what she is. We see what she is. And I think a lot of people forget that when they're drawing comics. It's a visual medium. Show, don't tell. And it's a very, very effective panel.
I'll do you one better. Very effective page. I think this page is fantastic. I just think this page is so set up well. I totally agree with you about the second panel. I've got some qualms with the second panel because like the characters are kind of stiff, and that it's like I would love to have seen that character brought closer up to the camera a little bit. But we know why it's there. Like you said, it's establishing the character. It's showing the character's kind of her personality in connection to the other maids. But then I love just folks, when I talk about diversity, again, just diversity in general. This is just like, this page is, to me, is just like, this is literally the perfect example of this. This is, you've got here, every panel is different. We go from, like a kind of extended camera, the camera's pulled back a little bit. I believe in the second panel, maybe a tad too far, but still the camera's pulled back a bit. But then we have this, in the third panel, we got this, big, nice close-up panel of the character, the male character. Then the fourth panel down, we got the camera zooms in to the characters. We get to see the female character's facial expressions. But then we also get the main character breaking the panel plane on the right. And it's just so neat. And it's just like, this is really good. This is really, really good stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed this, dude. Thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah.
So were you surprised with the plot? Did it go like, did it seem that it went or was going the way that you expected?
No, I think I was surprised. I was surprised in a good way. Like I wasn't actually I thought it was going to turn into something like horror-ish. I don't know why. I just I think
Probably because the name is kind of like one of those kind of modern naming conventions. We're going to talk about names as well in a minute here, but it's kind of one of those modern naming conventions that is so simple that you assume there has to be more to it, right? Like like the Oath or the Omen, or you know what I mean? It's like it feels loaded, and then like you said, but this is a really sweet story. Like this is not, but you assume there's something more to because it's just such a simple the vow. Like what's the vow? What yeah. Did you?
But yeah,
Go ahead.
I think my only criticism, I wish there was a bit more with the wedding planner, so that was yeah, because that one page, and I understand because you have a page limit, and she did a very good job within the allocated space.
Yeah, she did. Yes, she did.
Yeah, and personally, I think it would be really cool if there was a bit more exchange between her and the wedding planner, and so like there were a bit more hints. But it's very satisfying in the end, either way. And I think whether she did make some sacrifices to fit it within the page limit, whatever sacrifices they were probably the right things to remove.
I had three criticisms. I think, like you said, I do think they probably could have done more with the wedding planner there. I think that I think there was just more. There's probably room maybe to try just a bit more stuff in terms of storytelling or more backstory to some of the characters. I think there's some stuff here I thought could have been done away with. Two, I do not like the font. I don't know if this was handwritten or if this is computer generated. But folks, if you're going to use a font tool, use a real font tool. There's some fonts here that just didn't work for me and they felt weird. And then three, there are times where I feel the artwork is stiff. Where it's just where there's emotion to be had, but it's just so stiff. You're just kind of like this fourth panel here after she gets threatened by the potential fiance and she's walking down the hallway. Just that panel doesn't strike me quite as exciting as I would have liked.
Yeah.
I can envision different ways you could have done that scene to make it more. And I don't mean this coming across the wrong way, but more bitchy, just like more kind of, you know what I mean? Like more just kind of like personality and kind of, like a wicked burn that the other character's doing to her and stuff. You could kind of feel a bit more emotion from it. But this one it's kind of static. It's kind of safe,
Yeah.
So anyway,
also, I think
go ahead.
On that same page, I think that they have, it's very good that she had the quiet panel of her looking back, but it's way too far out.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And obviously her anatomy and stuff needs work, but that's with practice, I think.
Like I said, there's some stiffness to it because you're right. She does need work at times, but again, the question is this a style, or is this just her representation of things at her current level of ability? And I don't know the answer to that, but it comes across. Because it doesn't feel quite as solid, it comes across a tad stiff. Because some of the characters they're kind of rigid in the way some of the characters are shaped or posed.
Though in that I think that like I'm looking at the last page now, when it really needs to have that fluidness, she does deliver. And so yeah.
So what you're seeing on screen right now, folks, is not by Jamie DeJong. But this is a series called Emma. It was a very successful manga in Japan, and it just like I talked about Bastard with Caitlin Kelly's work, Eidolon. I feel like this, this. In other words, I would be with Bastard. I could see some more interesting things happen with Eidolon if she was looking at that as a potential title. As a potential level of influence. And folks, this comes back to something that I've said before. And again, I'm not going to get on the Anohana debate, but you absolutely have to have as Sherlock said, in the BBC TV show, you have to have a mind palace. You have to have a place where you can go mentally that is just stacked full of all sorts of influences. And if your influences are limited to just what you like, then that's a problem. You've got to step outside of that purview and really go wide. And I think, again, I look at Eidolon. I think Eidolon is, lacking in quite a few areas. And I think, again, something like Bastard, to me, given her arsenal, I can see some really balls to the wall things that she could do if she saw some other titles like that. Same with the Vow. Like, I'd be curious to see more of the Vow. I'd like to see more of the Vow. I think the Vow is really cool. I like to see more of it. And so when I look at what we've got here, I look at Emma. This is a series called, this is Emma as well. This is a panel from Emma also. But, this obviously takes place in Victorian era England. And it deals with a maid who, is trying to serve people. Then she also kind of falls in love. And so there's a lot of kind of intrigue, Downton Abbey type of stuff. This is another, whoops, that's the wrong one. There was another one called Maid, Maid, I can't forget the name, Maid something. But anyways, this particular title was also a very similar thing about a maid. This was a more modern take on a maid, but this was another successful series. So, I just think that, I would love to see more of the Vow. I don't know what she would do with more of the Vow. And again, if Jamie's listening, I would hope that she would look at some other shoujo series, in Japan that were successful, and see what all she could do with this concept. Because I think the concept is wide open for a lot of cool ideas that she could do. So
it could definitely go in a lot of ways. You could play it for laughs, and it could be like, but then it could also be like this very, the conflict between families and stuff like that. It could go one or two ways, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I think it's called Maid Sama. Maid Sama. Maid Sama. That's what this one is. Maid Sama. Okay. So folks, now, of course, that's right. So folks, here's what we're going to do. So we've got one final element here. And what that is, we've got 3 additional things we're going to do. We have one final big thing we're going to do. And that is we're going to kind of do a speed round where we run through titles and give you our thoughts. So these are titles we're just coming at fresh. We're looking at them and we're going to tell you what we think of these titles. Now, I've seen them. But Jen has it, so we're going to have a chance to run through these and give our honest opinions straight up. So this way you get a chance to see what a pitch session actually looks and feels like, okay? Now, we're not going to show you much of anything. I've got some stuff on screen that you'll see, but it's not going to be too much of anything particular. And you'll see why that is in a minute. Before we do that, however, I do want to just do a little station break and talk about a few things we got going on, things that you guys should want to know. First and foremost is this bad boy right here, Saturday PM. Now, do you guys know we do Saturday PM? I hope you do. Saturday PM is our sister anthology. So Saturday AM, of course, is the big dog. It's what we started the company with, and it is a magazine is currently enjoying its 89th issue. Issue 90 comes out sometime next weekend before we go on another break. But Saturday PM, this is issue number 2. And you can see that it's got a brand new manga from White Manga. Now, White Manga, I started the company Saturday AM, or My Footprint Entertainment, with a number of creators, including White Manga and Raymond Brown and Andrea Voros. And they are 3 people that I am extremely proud and honored to work with. White, of course, when I first found White, he was a young guy doing Apple Black. He'd been to chapter 3 or whatever. And now, of course, he's got 2 volumes out. We have a lot of big things coming for both Saturday AM and Apple Black. And he blessed us with his first new series since creating Apple Black, and that is called Bakassi. Bakassi is a series that is kind of like, now I've heard White talk about this. He talks about Bright. Did you see that movie on Netflix called Bright?
We don't have Netflix here, so no.
Oh, you poor man. Poor man. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we do. So, folks, if you've got Netflix here in the United States of America, then you know that we have Saturday PM. There's a movie called Bright that featured Will Smith, and it was about like orcs. It was really, I thought it was silly, but White thought it was close to what he thought this title Bakassi would be like. I actually, having read Bakassi now, think that Bakashi is more like a series that you all will know, which is called Kekken Sensei. Is it called Kekai Sensen or Kekken Sensei? You know, what is that title called? It's called what is it called? The Battlefront Blood Blockade Battlefront.
Yeah, this is over my head.
You don't know. So look at that. So folks, there's your Anahana. Blood Blockade Battlefront, kick-ass. Well, it's not kick-ass actually. It's by the guy who created Trigun. I know you heard of Trigun.
Okay, now I know Trigun. Trigun's a classic.
All right, so I guarantee you've seen this character. There's a main character. He wears like a suit. He's got these big like mutton chop sideburns, and he's got fangs. Anyway, well, I'll send you a link later. Or I'll try to send it to you now, actually. But anyways, so that's what it reminds me of. So if you guys have seen Blood Blockade Battlefront, the anime, then you kind of know, it takes place in this world where all this kind of weird stuff exists and everything. And so basically, Bakashi is like that. In this world, there are things that exist right alongside of regular human beings. And so, we're meeting some of our main characters, and White has really brought this idea to life in such a cool way. I'm really, really excited with what he's done. And so if you want to check out Bakashi, folks, issue number 2 was out. It is available on our website. Again, www.saturday-am.com/issues. You can get it right now for $2.99. If you want to subscribe, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But folks, this is awesome. Saturday PM features adult title. So if you know seinen, the term seinen, this is basically the concept of being able to have more adult-oriented titles. So we can have nudity, we can have violence, we can have all sorts of stuff like that. And so that is Saturday PM. Inside the magazine right now, we have Bakashi. We have by White Manga. We have Dark Web by Jack Sherwin from the UK. We have Quick Draw, which is kind of like Bakuman meets hentai, and that is from Kai Link from Australia. And then we have Yellow Stringer, which is a really fun series, kind of like Detective Conan.
I really dig Yellow Stringer.
Yes, Yellow Stringer is awesome. That's by new artist, another artist who came out of high school, by the way, Jeffrey John Luis. And then last coming issue number 3, which hits in a couple of weeks, folks. Issue number 3 hits in a couple of weeks, and it features the debut of a new series called Yasuke, Black Samurai. That's right. It's about a real character in Japanese history, an African who became a samurai. We take some creative license with it, but you're going to love this series, folks. It's by Robert Burnins, and trust me, it is badass. It put Afro Samurai to shame. Very badass. Saturday PM, we have articles, exclusive comics, and we feature this other little crazy thing, just like seinen manga in Japan. If you go pick up a copy of Weekly Young Jump or Ultra Jump or any of the seinen-oriented magazines in Japan, folks, what's on the cover, Jim, when you pick up a seinen magazine typically?
Beautiful girls.
Beautiful girls. And you'll see right there in the corner, we have Lady Nakoru. Lady Nakoru. So there we go. We got Lady Nakoru, and she is absolutely gorgeous. Folks, this woman is gorgeous. And beyond that, she's also really smart. She's really smart. She's really cool. We were so honored that she agreed to be in Saturday PM issue number 2. And so we're excited. We love it. And if you love to see beautiful, attractive women, you get to check this out. So we got Lady Nakoru in issue number 2. You get to read her interview, check out a very cool pictorial with her. And then in issue number 1, which you can also get right now for just 99 cents, folks. If you don't want to subscribe yet, you just want to test it out, 99 cents. You can check it out right now. And this features Lorna Ciani, which is this girl is gorgeous, very young, not underage, but very young, because I'm an old man, but she's gorgeous though, absolutely gorgeous. This girl is model-like, and this woman, Lady Nakoru, is a model, by the way, and so is Lady Lorna Ciani, who is half Italian, half Swedish. So this woman is just absolutely gorgeous. She does an amazing cosplay pictorial featuring a lot of Naruto characters, and including Anko particularly. And so we have a great pictorial with her in issue number 1. So if you want to check this out, go to www.saturday-am.com/issues, and you can pick up issue number 1 right now for 99 cents. So you can pick up issue number 2 for $2.99. Or, of course, folks, if you want to get all the content, Saturday AM, Saturday PM, and why wouldn't you? Then you can subscribe. Our subscriptions are going up, folks. It's going to be $30 a year starting very soon. So right now it's $25. Jump on it. That's up to 20 issues of Saturday AM. Up to 20 issues of Saturday AM. That means creators like Mr. Jen, who's on the phone with us right now, White Manga, Mark Reed, Raymond Brown, Andrea Voros, Jay Oden, Morgan Walker, Anthony Jackson, tons of kick-ass creators exclusively with Saturday AM. Lots of other cool things packed in there. We're going to start tying some things to our trade show appearances as well if you are a premium subscriber. So, folks, become a premium subscriber. Support us. Help us keep the lights on. And you get a chance to get amazing issues. And, folks, again, I really shouldn't have to say this, but, folks, we've been at this for a long time. We've been at this for a long time. So when you've got this level of work, when you'll be able to produce this content this long, 89 issues, then you can best believe if you subscribe, your $30 is going to be well valued because we want to make sure that we pop out another 20 issues. This year we hit issue number 100. And Saturday PM, by the way, that is up to 6 issues. So up to 20 issues of Saturday AM if you subscribe, and up to 6 issues of Saturday PM. The hottest creators, the most diverse manga. We feature characters and creators from all over the world. Do it, folks. All right, so we got more stuff to talk about. I know a lot of you guys are curious to talk about the next wave of Summer of Manga and Summer of Manga for Saturday PM and so forth. We'll get to that shortly. But, of course, if you don't know who Saturday AM is, this is who we are, folks. Feature some of the hottest manga creators and characters from all over the world. Folks, when I say that, I don't just saying that to be saying it. We have literally some of the hottest creators from all over the world. We've actually got people from around the world who are doing studies on manga, who are actually looking at Saturday AM and want to talk to us because of the growth and the success that we're having. So we're not very flashy. You don't see us in articles as much as I would like us to be, and websites that we should be on. But nonetheless, we've got a body of work. We've got a list of creators that are amazing. And we continue to grow thanks to events like Summer of Manga. So with that being said, of course, with pitch sessions, it's all about the pitch. What pitch can you give us that's going to make us add your title to this group of amazing series, characters, and illustrators that you're looking at right now? By the way, folks, that big blue guy and the little Indian kid in front of him is one of our most diverse series called Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts. And that returns in issue 91. It's going to be awesome. You're going to really, really love that. And Clock Striker, of course, is also coming back sometime soon. That's a young African-American female. Diversity, folks. It's good. All right, so let's talk about this new sort of pitch thing we're going to talk about. In this segment of the show, folks, we're going to do kind of like a live speed round where we just kind of run through pitches. So we're going to give you some basic information, and we're going to run through them, and we're going to give you our thoughts live. Now, what we're not going to do is tell you who submitted it, because this is not a scenario where we're trying to embarrass anyone or put down anyone or try to humiliate or demoralize someone. But this is where we're going to provide information and give you real thoughts as to what we think about the content that we're looking at. So this is the first pitch we got. It's called Dragon's Inn. So, Jen, are you able to pull up the information I sent you earlier?
Yep.
About the person's information, his profile, how to find his profile?
Yep, I've got everything already
keyed up? Okay. Yep. All right. So, again, we're not going to reveal who the creative artist is. Here's what we're going to tell you. The person is 26. The concept is called Dragon's Inn. And the pitch is 7 Deadly Sins Fairy Tale. What do you make of this?
How
does this make
aren't those two series very, very similar?
Well, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I haven't read 7 Deadly Sins, but I'm a big fan of Fairy Tale.
You're missing out, dude. You're missing out on 7 Deadly Sins.
It's on my list. It's on my list. I definitely got all the volumes when they had the indie. They had the thing that's like $5 and you can get all the volumes. So I got it. So it's next on my list. I'm reading Rave Master at the moment. But yeah, very generic title. You said there's dragons and so many different story concepts.
Yes.
So I guess the thing with Seven Deadly Sins cross fairy tale is standard shonen story.
Right.
That I think that's what I get from that.
Yeah.
So there's nothing. I think
You're not moved by that.
Yeah, I think usually when you do a cross like this, you're supposed to come up with new ideas, and all I can think of is something that probably already exists.
And I think that's a yes. I think that's a really good way to look at this. This does nothing for me. This does literally nothing for me. Yes. I mean, I'm older. I'm jaundiced. I've read a lot more manga than probably everybody on this chat. And guys, yeah. I mean, in the 4.5 years we had Saturday AM, we've gotten pitches that are clearly Dragon Ball, clearly Naruto, clearly Final Fantasy, clearly Kingdom Hearts, clearly they haven't really gotten any One Pieces, but we got a lot of Dragon Ball. I've seen at least 4 Dragon Balls for sure. And I remember one young man, I'll never forget, he when I said to him, like, this is Dragon Ball. He's like, yeah, he was a young man from Africa. He was like, yes, but it's Dragon Ball, but cooler. That was his pitch. So I think, look, I think Jen hit the nail on the head with pitches. So is this a bad pitch? I mean, no. Seven Deadly Sins is a very popular series. Fairy Tail is a very popular series. Again, we talk about the Anohana thing. Like these are 2 very popular series, but this is the exact opposite of the Anohana situation, where this is something where you're like Jen said, you see this and all your mind is thinking about is just what already exists. It doesn't take your mind anywhere new. It takes your mind nowhere new. So if you had said it's, Care Bears meets Fairy Tale, oh, okay, now I'm starting to think, and I'm starting to go, okay, well, what, magical bears or something like that, Yeah. If you had said, Seven Deadly Sins with, house moms, well, then I'm like, oh, okay, wait, so this is like, like a bunch of women who, are like moms, but they all kind of like have, various aspects of the Seven Deadly Sins. So are they trying to kill each other? Are they trying, like, I mean, like that's all interesting, right? Like that, like my mind is racing. Does that mean that I will enjoy it? No, but you've got to make my mind race. Making my mind race for something I do not know, again, is not the answer. Making my mind race, however, for stuff that I do know is where you can go, okay, wait, okay, interesting. Okay. So, there's an interesting element there. These are 2 very popular series. I do not, by the way, I'm not a huge fan, I'm not a huge fan of Fairy Tail. I enjoyed Seven Deadly Sins when I was checking it out, because it was probably the closest to an American superhero comic book I've ever seen. The artwork is very good. The action sequences are very kind of action oriented, but there's some pervy crap in there, just like a lot of manga. So I stopped reading it for some time ago. Similar to Fairy Tail, like I tried to get into Fairy Tail, but there's so much like silliness in it. I just couldn't get into it. Both of them to me are the same thing. And to again your point, it's like these 2 things cancel each other out. I'm not interested.
Yeah, I think that the example that you always use, the Yu-Gi-Oh cross Batman, is a really good one, because that's not a combination we know
that
of,
you would think of. That's right. No, you would never think of that combination. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it just is like, well, you're just doing a standard. I know that it's probably in a fantasy story, and there's going to be friendship. That's what I get from this, which is every single shonen manga, basically.
Every single shonen manga, exactly. And again, folks, let's say this again. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like if that's what you're going to do, there's nothing wrong with that. But as a pitch, it's just not very inviting. And again, if we can't get excited from your pitch, well, then that's the challenge that you've got to overcome. So let's talk about how you'd overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to try to overcome it with artwork, if I looked at this and thought, man, but that artwork is badass, there you go. But lo and behold, this young person's artwork doesn't exist. The page is locked for you, isn't it?
Yes, it is private.
It's private. So, so this does not help. This does not help. Now, I'm not going to say, let me be up front and say, I cannot say that, that this was the scenario for me. In fact, let me just double check and make sure that that this is not the case for me. So I take that back. So it is not locked for me. Or at least I don't believe it is. Give me 1 second here. Oh, nope. Yep. Hold on 1 sec. Hold on 1 sec. Let me just make sure I can get it pulled up here. Let me just double check. Okay, there we go. Yes, it is. So there you go. There you go. So yeah. So unfortunately, this is just if you're presenting this to us, this is sort of pitch not to make to us or to really anybody if you want to be taken seriously. And if you're gonna do it this way, then at least have your artwork visible for everybody to see. Okay. Let's see. Next,
I've noticed. Hold on. This person also has on their profile has a link to another. Okay, so here's the interesting thing is, I just clicked their other link and it has pictures and character art and stuff like that. Send that link. Send that link. Don't if your personal profile. Like when we ask for your Instagram, we're not asking for your personal profile. We're asking to your Instagram with your art on it.
Right.
Yeah. So,
no.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if you see in this person's description. Yeah. And you click that, and then you'll see artwork.
Yeah. Yeah. So that again, that's not the way to do that. Like you said, submit it originally. This artist, I've seen his stuff before, so I know what this artist's capable of. Look, I mean, for artistically for me, again, there wasn't enough there. There's just if you've got generic pitch, if you're going to submit a generic pitch and your artwork does not stand out dramatically enough, then can't. It doesn't do anything as a pitch. It kind of falls flat, unfortunately. Next up, we have a 17-year-old. His name is I don't know his name, by the way. Deviant is a story concept. The name is the title. And tell us your comic pitch in just a few words. A keen vigilante seeks reform in a corrupted world, all while adjusting to his new life in a group full of superhumans. So you got that?
Yeah.
All right. What do you think, sir?
It does sound very familiar. It sounds like
X-Men.
Yeah, it sounds like X-Men. It sounds like My Hero Academia. It kind of sounds like One Punch Man. The idea of like the superhumans is normalized. I feel like if you're gonna do like these kind of concepts, you need to give an extra hook, right? I think the hook here is like a new life of a group full of superhumans. That I think is what they think their hook is, but it's not, right?
Correct.
It's just like so you need a little bit more than that. But yeah, I feel like this is more successful than the previous one we checked out.
And I was getting ready to say, this is so is this pitch done the way I want to see a pitch? No, not at all. Not at all. But does that detract from it? It doesn't help it, but it also doesn't kill it. There are ideas here at the very least, right? There are ideas here. So because he didn't put this into the format that I would have liked, then this is not successful. But again, it's not presented in enough of a way that kills it. And so what I mean by that is that there's enough stuff here that he did put far more words than I want to see, but there's enough stuff here that your mind is working. Your mind is working, right? We're sitting here, our mind is going. We're thinking X-Men. I didn't even think of My Hero Academia, like you said, My Hero Academia, and then you listed One Punch Man. So your mind starts to work a little bit. The problem with this is that again, this is not a pitch. This is why, folks, this method right here does not work, because again, with a pitch, the Yu-Gi-Oh meets Batman, your mind is working. Your mind is working, and the ideas are intrinsic enough that gets you started going down a pathway that allows you to begin to see potentially something unique. Because what a pitch does in 4 to 6 words is it gives me a finite sort of explosive idea, right? It's not, the idea itself is not explained fully. So I have to, but it's finite enough to say, okay, I know it's got something to do with like a singular character, or I know it's got something to do with a major sort of concept. and meets this other concept. So I get the general parameters of it. And so by that, look, if I said to you, I've got a concept that's basically, Justice League meets Golden Girls, right? Well, if you're not into old people, then you're already done. Like you're like, I could care less, right? Like I get the idea. It's interesting. I'm kind of curious to know what they would do with it. But because I don't like old people, I'm not interested in reading old people as Justice League or whatever that concept would be. So with that being said, we got a vigilante, we've got a corrupted world, we've got a group full of superhumans, don't know what it means, but he's adjusting to his new life. So there's ideas here that make you somewhat curious, to make you want to say, okay, I'm willing to see more of this, to see where this could go. I would like more information. And that, frankly, is kind of where we were, is that we were like, we'd like to see more information on this. Art-wise, again, this young man is 17 years old. When I looked at the art for this, we've seen this artist. He's been inside of March Madness before and so forth. He's got talent. He's capable of doing things. Do I think he's capable of telling a comic book story? It's doubtful at this point because he's young and he's not shown really any of those major things that we talked about earlier in terms of diversity of art, sequential pages that demonstrate a real understanding, character designs that are unique enough. There's still a stiffness to his work, but he's certainly got talent. I mean, I think out of some of the people that we'll see, he certainly is better at this than some other people. But as a pitch, this is why you don't go with this pitch rate, because you're proposing so many ideas in just a few words that are here that this comes across as being generic, yet it's interesting enough to make me go, okay, I need more information, but it still seems awfully generic. Anything else from you? Anything about the art?
Yeah, the art is solid. But I think where like this is sequential stuff, you can definitely see that there needs to be a lot of work. It's very stiff. But this kid is very young.
Yeah, very.
Definitely. Their stuff is going to be really good. Like it'd be one of those things where maybe not now, but I'm going to keep an eye on this person.
And I'm glad you said that. And this is one of those things where, again, when we look at stuff like this is one of the sort of things that we say to people is, folks, if you're presenting something like this person did, go out there and just do like Jen. Go make a comic book on one of these other websites and just do it. Do it every week. Do it, 1 page a week uploads or 3 page a week uploads or whatever. Say to yourself, I'm going to publish a 90 page, 60 page, 30 page short story. I'm going to do it at my pace. I'm going to get on a schedule just so that I can kind of commit to something. I think that's important. But, but if you don't complete it in 2 months or 3 months, that's okay. But just do it, because I agree with Jen. Again, we don't want to reveal these young artists' stuff without their permission, which we don't, have these people's permission. But at the same time, I think that his sequential work has potential. I don't think it's there, but there's potential. I think that this person, though, if they were to continue to draw, because there's not much sequential to look at, by the way, it's like what, 2 pages, but
three pages,
3 pages. But if they were to continue, because there is enough stuff here that if they were to continue, I think, and just put themselves on a schedule and keep producing it, I think they could get a lot better. And if they can get much better than they are right now, but I think that opportunities can really flow out for these guys without question. Also, the name, I kind of like the name, Deviant. I thought it was like, it's not a bad name. Better than the other one. Okay, so let's see here. The next concept here is called history. And the concept here is a world where gods and humans coexist. So again, not the sort of pitch we're looking for, but it's a pitch, it's a few words, and it does propose ideas. What do you make of this?
I think that this is interesting. It's funny because like we want to keep it short, but I just wish there was like a little bit more.
Right.
Like, are they? Do they coexist in harmony? Do they coexist? Is there wars between gods and humans? I wish that I knew a little bit more.
Right.
So it could have maybe added like coexist in conflict or coexist happily. I don't know.
But again, stick to how we normally do this stuff. like again, stick to the pitch process. Why couldn't this have been called why couldn't this have been a Clash on Titans meets The Simpsons if it's funny, or Clash on Titans meets you've seen Clash on Titans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Clash of Titans meets anything. It beats Batman, it beats anything, right? But I mean, it's like, because that is about gods and humans coexisting, right? So, but but like you said, are they in conflict? Are the humans subservient? Are the humans at war with them? Like, what is the plot here? There's just not enough stuff there to be able to understand what you're supposed to get out of this. And then the name, of course, intrigues you also because it's got history. What does that mean? Like, why is it called history? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So, and then, of course, the dreaded no artwork doesn't help this at all.
No artwork.
Yeah, no artwork. Yes. All right. So then, let's see. We're going to kind of fly through. We've got 2 more to do here. Next up, we have The Poisoned Children. And so this person really goes all out. They give us a whole paragraph. In a society among others, children with innate special abilities are taken from their families, bred, experimented, pushed, and beaten into the perfect killers. The story follows a boy who is top of his peers, I guess top of his class, forced to fight for his freedom from this isolated facility, though freedom may not be as easy as it seems. What did you think of this, Jim?
It's intriguing. It could have been done shorter. You could have said like
that question,
let me think. It could have been Weapon X crossed with Promise Neverland, and that would probably
yes. I didn't know where you go with Weapon X, but Promise Neverland. I'm willing to bet you that this person is a big fan of Promise Neverland because that's almost what this is, right? I mean, that's what this sounds like. It's first, and then of course the name. But yeah, go ahead. I totally agree with you on that pitch, though. That's what this pitch should have been.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I like it. I would look into it, definitely. I think this intrigues me. It could have been shorter. I think if you use the Weapon X or even just X-Men crossed with Promise Neverland, that would have got me excited more, right? Because you have more to draw from there.
Yep.
Like because you already know like the intrigue behind Promise Neverland and the mystery, and then obviously children with superpowers and stuff like that and special abilities. So that would already lots of things would be going off in your mind already. So I think there's a strong concept here. But like you said, if they did this cross with this, it probably would have come out more exciting. But out of all the ones we've seen so far, this is the most exciting to me.
I'm not gonna say it's the most exciting. I think that
most intriguing. I mean, exciting is probably the wrong word. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look. So obviously we're not talking about the other part of this, which is the artwork, and I don't think the artwork for this would fit. And I don't think the artist for this is at this level yet to pull this off. But yeah, without question, I mean, is this the most? It is the most intriguing. Sure, I think that's probably fair. Yes, but is it? Can I see this as a series? Again, again, this person's 20. I think I just keep coming back to when we get these creators in and we see how young they are and they're trying to do these kind of big idea series. It always just kind of is a difficult one for me. It's a difficult one for me because so to me, this reads kind of like Eidolon, the expanded version of Eidolon, not the original pitch that you saw, but the expanded version. And so when I saw the expanded version, I knew, what the story was going to be that we published. At the same time, remember, folks, these are Summer of Manga pitches. So these are short story pitches. Nothing about this seems like a short story. Does it to you? Like none of this.
It sounds like a very long series.
Exactly. It sounds like another 18-volume epic from someone who's never done 20 pages of a comic book. So I again, I think big ideas are great. I think you've got to be an artist who can pull it off, and I don't think this person is. I don't think any of the artists we've seen tonight so far are, except for maybe again Jamie DeJong with The Vow. So a bit tough one on this one. But at the same time, I think this is interesting. I think, like you said, it's intriguing. Again, if this was where they were going with it, is Weapon X, like you said, meets Promise Neverland, and I think there's some interesting stuff there. But given how Promise Neverland is still so new, and I mean, if you've been reading it, you know that it's changed dramatically in the last couple of chapters.
Yeah, you can definitely. I think because I'm a big fan of it as well.
Yeah.
But you can definitely see that it was originally supposed to be something shorter, and now it's blown up into something that, like,
right.
Okay, we're going to have to change course here because there's no way we can keep this same concept going for as long as it needs
they're
to
making
go.
money. I mean, they're making money. They got fans, and now it's like, now we got to kind of take this thing out. I mean, Attack on Titan was the same way, by the way. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's again intriguing. Something that we would publish at this point with this creator, no, but intriguing for sure. And then the last one, and then we'll wrap this thing up, is All In. So this person did two things. They gave us the pitch that we asked for, and then they added into it a paragraph setting. So the All In is from this young 25-year-old creator is Project K meets Empire of Corpses. Sorry. And then the tagline, the synopsis is, in a world that people can turn a profit by exploiting a crazy, unnatural phenomenon, folks, that makes no sense. Meteor showers, victims turning into weaponizable stone. That also makes no sense. As mankind is starting to turn its back to the people suffering and looking forward to the possibility of the product. And this is what we call very, very poor writing. Its evolution in their future. There's misspelled. A man tries to cure this disease from the world himself. Folks, rule number 3: submit your best. This is a jamble of some of the poorest grammar I've seen in a long time. You can't have a crazy natural/unnatural phenomenon. That literally, that's like saying she was the most beautiful, ugly woman I've ever seen. That makes no sense. Maybe in someone's mind that makes sense. That doesn't make any sense. A lot of poorly written things here. Project K meets Empire Courses. Let's just start with that. Who do you know? Because I will admit, I've heard of Project K. I don't know what it is, and I don't know what Empire Corpses is. Do you know what either one of those properties are?
I don't know what either one of those are.
Well, there you go then. So we're back.
Like, for me, like, it's just basically the mainstream ones, and that's all I know, really.
That's all it ever is, dude. I mean, let's stop playing like that's like there's something weird about suggesting that you do mainstream things. There's nothing weird about that. Project K, by the way, is a young boy gets caught in a psychic war between 7 kings after being falsely accused of murder. That's the one sentence setup for that, which tells you nothing. And let's go to Empire of Corpses. The Empire of Corpses. This is a animated movie in 19th century London. Corpses are reanimated to be used for manual labor. After being invited to join a secret society, a young medical student is given a mission to find the lost writings of Dr. Victor Frankenstein.
So it's Frankenstein. So
yeah. So I mean, does any of that make sense to you when you're talking about victims who are weaponized stone?
Not really.
And,
I think what they're trying to do is that manga thing where they just use English words.
Yeah.
Like just random English words,
yeah,
and then and using them as like verbs and nouns, and it's like,
that's right.
What are you talking about? Like, there's so many times I read manga and I'm like, this is just, they just sound a cool English word, and I think they're trying to do that here in this synopsis, which is probably not the best idea.
Well, I mean, this synopsis has a lot of problems. Let's be real. This has a lot of problems that have nothing to do with the synopsis. This is, I mean, have nothing to do with the Project K meets Empire of Corpses. This just makes no sense. This is kind of all over the place in terms of the description of it. Look, I think, again, I'll come back to what we said earlier. I will come back to what we said earlier. Folks, you've got to choose normal stuff. If your parents don't know what it is, chances are the people you're pitching it to won't know either. Yes, there's a better chance that they'll be a bit more informed because they're in the industry, but stick with what people know about. I mean, could Empire of Corpses just have been Frankenstein? Could you have just said Frankenstein? And could you have just said Exactly. And instead of Project K, could you have just said, X-Men? I mean, I don't know what the hell Project K is, but can you just say that? I mean, it's like, come on. Like, because the problem here is that those two things make no sense. And then when you're then going to, and this is when I say, folks, about doing the pitch, the way I talk about doing the pitch, when you choose to do more than the pitch, then all you're doing, if you don't know what you're doing, is cementing someone really disliking what you're submitting. Because now we've got this paragraph that is poorly written, makes no sense in connection to the first things that they put in their pitch, Project K and Empire of Corpses. Nothing in this sounds like it's connected to Project K, from what I can tell, or Empire of Corpses. Weaponizable stone, what does that mean? If you're going to give us a paragraph, why not explain what that concept was? Like that probably would have been an interesting idea. Why not spend the time to say weaponizable stone is when the character is, they can't necessarily move or think, but they're strong as a piece of rock or whatever. I don't know. But the bottom line here is that this is just so much kind of like, I don't know how to put it. Blab. It's just blabbity. There's just not a lot of stuff here.
And also, how does this fit in within like a 20-page limit? Like,
well, none of this comes back to that. That's right.
It seems like the setup. Short story. Yeah, the setup for this would have taken the whole page count.
That's right.
Just trying to explain the world and going on, like, yeah.
No, agreed. And again, it must be said as always, the art here just doesn't. I mean, like, whatever this is, the art does not appear sophisticated enough at this level to be able to communicate this as a short story, much less as a comic book, as an ongoing series. So, look, this was a poor pitch. It was a poor extended pitch, and it just doesn't really bring much, help in terms of what you're looking for. So interesting. I'll say that. It's interesting. All right, so folks, that is that's it. It's kind of the pitches that we were going to look at for today. Now, you're probably asking about issue 89. So let me just put these up here right now. Issue 88, folks, you can read the two series we talked about today. You can read them now. Go to our website, go to www.saturday-am.com/issues, and you can check out the Summer of Manga entries from Jamie DeJong, which is called The Vow. Both Jen and I very much like The Vow. You can read that for free right now. Go to the website at the address I just gave you, www.saturday-am.com/issues, and you can download that. Check it out. It's issue 88. There's a survey in there. Let us know what you think. Did you like either of these entries, Eidolon or The Vow? Let us know. You can check it out right then and there. Aside from that, if you're also interested, issue 89 is also out, and this includes two new Summer of Manga entries. One is by Jeff Duvall, called aka Frey. He's got a short story called DID, and the second one is from who was the second one by? I'm trying to remember the second one.
I can see the artwork, but I forget that. Hold on.
Yeah, pull it up. I can't remember who it is. I thought it was good. I can't remember who it was.
The artwork is very good.
Yeah, what was we're not going to review it now, but what was the person?
Give me one more second. It's loading. Christina Anderbach.
Yes, Christina Grimheim. Yes, Grimheim. Really interesting. So you can check that out. You can check out issue 89 as well for free, folks. So 2 Saturday AM issues you can check out for free right now. Go to the website www.saturday-am.com/issues. Download both of them for free. You technically are buying them, but you're buying them for free. And please get into it, check it out, and hopefully you'll subscribe so you can get future issues from there. But then take the survey and let us know what you think, because these artists worked very hard on these short stories. We told you what we think about the first two. You tell us what you think. And then the second two, Christina Anderbach and Jeff Duvall's entries, we'll review them in next week's episode of Pitch Sessions. So that is episode 1. I want to do a couple of housekeeping notes real quickly, but Jen, anything you want to say before we wrap things up?
Yeah, well, the latest issue of Saturday AM, issue 89, is the return of Zero King of Thieves as an ongoing series. So there's another reason to pick it up. If you've missed the first chapter, it's free on the Saturday AM website. And so yeah, go read it all, get caught up. Hopefully you get hooked, and then subscribe, because I really, really, really love this series, and I hope to keep doing it for a while.
We're really excited about Zero King of Thieves, folks. If you love classic Dragon Ball, and there's nothing about the series that's like Dragon Ball, I just mean the kind of the easiness of it, the effervescence of the characters, and just the overall kind of fantasy adventure comedy angle, then I think you'll really dig Zero. It is well illustrated. It is super fun. I think you'll really like it. Now, what are you looking at right now? You're looking at a fight to end all fights, a Celestial Pulse. This is a new series that you can check out on Webtoon right now, folks. Now, why are we showing this? Because, folks, we sell advertising. Fortunately, we've built up a fan base in the thousands. In fact, fan base far bigger than that. And as a result of that, we understand the power that we have to get the word out about upcoming titles. We're not going to publish everybody. We can't publish everybody. We don't want to publish everybody. So we're never going to be a line Webtoon or Tapastic. That's not who we are. And we're pretty okay with that. We've done quite a fine with that so far. But with that being said, though, we do occasionally meet people who are amazing, and they're prepared to advertise what they're doing. Folks, if you're going to do this, advertise it. Let people know what you're about. This young woman is really talented. She came to us, wanted to advertise, and man, she put together this amazing ad. Really cool series. So I'm going to go check it out, and I really enjoyed it. So again, if you advertise with us, folks, you're going to get shout outs like this, either on some of our YouTube shows, whether it's White Manga's YouTube shows or our YouTube shows, all of our network, Andrea Voros, all the creators who are part of our network will possibly give you a shout out if you advertise with us. Likewise, you're going to get shouted out on our podcast. Likewise, you're going to get shouted out inside of our magazine. It's really simple. Go to the website, choose the issue you want to be in, see if that slot is open. We have a front page slot, a back page slot, a middle page slot, and then we also have another section as well. You can advertise with it. Ads begin at $10. And here's the best part, folks. The ads begin at $10. Okay, so really cheap. But ridiculous that ad value. Stays. Ridiculous value. That ad stays until someone comes in and outbids you, just like web ads, except it's being put in a really nice professional setup like Saturday AM and Saturday PM. You can buy it for Saturday PM as well. So again, Celestial Pulse, great comic. Check it out. But otherwise than that, folks, if you want to advertise, if you've got a comic book, or if you've got a cosplay business you do on the side, you make cosplay items, if you sell illustrations or sell commissions, if you have a store where you sell things, give yourself a fighting chance. Go out there and advertise for it. It's worth fighting for, folks, if you want to make this stuff happen. So go out there and advertise. You can advertise a lot of places. You're not going to get the bang for the buck the way you will, that you will if you advertise with us. Do it. Advertise with us. Go to www.saturday-am.com/ads, AWS/magazine ad. You can check out the ads in there and choose the ad you want to advertise with, and that will be very, very, very cool. Last but not least, our next issue, as I indicated, comes out next week. I want to give a quick shout out for the title that'll be appearing with that one. One of the short stories is from a young lady named Sama. I'm really excited about this. Fantastic artwork, really cool story. And I think one of the best names out there is called Tender Loving Punch. I think you're going to really dig this. It's really cool. Here's the ad piece of it. Issue 90 comes out next weekend. So again, if you haven't subscribed, you won't get it. You have to wait for it to be made free. So please go and subscribe. Check it out. You can do so for as little as $5. You get up to 20 issues a year of Saturday AM, or you can pay $30, or I'm sorry, $25, or soon to be $30, and you can get Saturday AM and Saturday PM for the whole year. That's over 20 pages of content. That is over 1,000 pages of content. The best deal in comics, folks. Go do it. All right. So with all that being said, we're going to chat real quickly about Summer of Manga, because a lot of you guys want to know about Summer of Manga. You want to know about the next iteration of Summer of Manga and all that jazz. So let's get into it right now, shall we? Summer of Manga. We have done two waves of it, so to speak. Get it? Waves. and we're going to do a third wave. That third wave will be announced this week. Or sorry, not this week. It will be announced next week, beginning Monday. You'll be able to go on our website and sign up for it. Now, the setup for it is really straightforward. And basically, when you go into it, what you're going to be allowed to do is basically go in, you'll establish what it is that you want to do. Just like you saw tonight, you'll be asked to reveal your age, reveal your name. We do need your real name. Give us a link to your online portfolio. And then you'll be asked to provide a pitch and then a slightly more enhanced synopsis about the story. My best advice to give to you folks, again, is not to rush this. There will be a time limit for when you can submit it in. There's no reason to submit it the very first day. You get nothing by doing it the very first day. So instead, take your time and have a chance to go out and, see if you can't experience it. See if you think it's a good fit for you. Please go download the 2 issues I just talked about, because one of the things I always am struck by is that people who want to be a Saturday AM and don't subscribe to Saturday AM. Now, you don't have to subscribe to Saturday AM, folks, but at the same time, if you've never read an issue of Saturday AM, you don't know what we do, you don't know what it looks like, then why would you go out of your way to try to be in the magazine? Why not actually take the time and take the chance to see what we're about, learn for yourself what the sort of content we produce, and see if that works for you. And if so, then Summer of Manga will be a really good test of your abilities, and it'll be something worth your time. But again, we're going to be announcing everything on Monday. We'll have the full setup for things that you can do. It'll be available sometime Monday, and you'll find it on our website on the Summer of Manga section. I think it's literally Summer Manga 2018 is the address, www.saturday-am.com/Summer Manga 2018. Or no, I'm sorry, Summer Manga and then just 18. But if you go to the top of the page on our website, you'll see the link for Summer Manga. Just press it; it'll take you directly to the page on Monday, and you'll be able to begin submitting your pitch. You only get one pitch, so we will not, if you screw up, we won't consider something new. Again, if you're going to have an online portfolio, please make that online portfolio something that we can discover directly. Okay. So with that being said, let's see, are there any questions that we can answer? I know people are going to be asking about Summer of Manga for Saturday PM. Yes, it's going to be happening, but we'll be revealing that slightly later. Any questions we can get into here? And I'm just going to pull some stuff while that is going on. So give me a second.
You want me to have a look for some questions?
I've actually got it up here. I'm just waiting to see. Just give me a second here. Let's see here. And so I see we had to remove somebody here. We had a religious nut posting all sorts of crap on our on the timeline there, trying to use the timeline for their I don't know what they were doing, but folks, there's a time and a place to go reveal stuff. I'm not anti-religion at all, but this is not the place to be trying to spam our users. That's very rude and very disrespectful. Let's see. Rosillo Atherex says, what do you think of the artists that use like Gantt style 3D backgrounds? Are you more concerned about how it looks in the end or how it's produced? What do you think about that, Jim?
Fun fact, I use 3D backgrounds.
Mm.
All my environments I build using a program called 3ds Max, and then I take a screenshot of it and then draw on top of it. But some people I know just use the screenshot as the background, and if it's done well, if it looks good, it looks good. I think when you're doing it with manga, you have to, or with comics in general, you have to make sure that there is no disconnection. Like if people are noticing that it's done with a 3D software, then it detracts from it. But if you can somehow blend it, however you do that, it can look really good. So
I totally agree. Yeah. I didn't know you used 3D backgrounds, by the way. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's why they're so detailed.
No, that's great. I don't know if you've read Gigantic or what's it called? Gigant is his new series. The creator of that, Oki or Oka, whatever his name is.
No.
Really good, really good. It's really good, man. So anyway, long story short, yeah, I think it can be done. If you're comparing yourself to the creator of Gantz, and you can produce that level of fidelity, then by all means, you go 3D background. I think any tool that's going to help you tell a story is totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if somebody made a comic where it was just like them taking photos of themselves for every single panel, if you can make that look good, then do it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep. There was a guy. I mean, this is old school stuff, so I won't bore you guys with it. But there was an old school comic back, and this guy became famous too. And I cannot remember his name now, of course, but back in the 80s, he was the first person to use computers to generate the art. And I mean computers to generate the art, like literally generate the art. And his first like big mainstream success, he did a comic book that was this was back during the indie wave of the 1980s, 90s, in American comic books, that is. And then he created an Iron Man comic, and it was all 3D. And I remember this, and I can't think of his name, and I can't think of the name of the graphic novel he did, but it was a graphic novel. It did very well. I love the stuff that he did, but it was 3D. And so imagine 3D graphics in the 80s. I mean, by today's standards, it was horrible, but I still have a nostalgic remembrance of it because it was just so cool back then. And it worked. I mean, he was very successful for that period of time that he did it. So I don't know what happened to him, but it was very successful during a period of time. So folks, yeah, anything works. Anything works.
I think in the Western space now, somebody who basically uses 3D art exclusively for their comics is Mike Deodato.
Does he really?
Yeah, it's 3D.
Interesting. I didn't know. I mean, it doesn't surprise. Nothing surprises me anymore at this point. But I wouldn't have known that. King of Madness says, I'm actually making my own comic book. It's called The Mask. That's great, King of Madness. Feel free to, when you're ready to promote it properly, advertise with us. Markel Scott says, basically what I gathered was a mistake people make are they pitch for long stories. Yeah, that's true. What you want is a pitch strictly for the short story. Yeah, I mean, again, the idea of the pitch is to get someone excited and interested in whatever it is you're going to do. The pitch is obviously, comes from Hollywood stories where people are trying to pitch, TV shows or movies. So these are obviously bigger, complicated affairs. The pitch is still the same. It's like 4 to 6 words, 2 things smashed together, and either it generates a sort of mind expression that you want someone to have, or it doesn't. And so from that standpoint, that's really what matters. I can be pitched this way for a long series, but the problem that I see with long series, if you watch the episode tonight, is that, folks, again, if you're a first-time creator, look, there's nothing wrong with pitching a long series, but it's like saying you want to play in the NBA and you've never even played in a basketball game in your neighborhood, in your house. I mean, it's like, at some point, you've got to walk before you run. In some cases, you got to crawl before you run. And so when you see a pitch from someone who's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, they've never done anything before. Their online portfolio is, weak, to be polite. And they're talking about they've got an idea and it's a complicated series. It's not a short story when it's got that many pieces going to it. Then, yeah, that pitch won't work no matter what you do.
And it's not exclusive to this industry as well. So like every time you see a Pixar movie, there's a short film in front of it. That's the new staff at Pixar doing that. They don't get them to do The Incredibles straight away. They say, work on this small project. And those projects are supposed to be small. They're not supposed to be big. And so, they're supposed to be in that short 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long it is. It's not supposed to be a pitch for something longer. They make something for that medium. And so when you're pitching a short story, you should pitch a short story, not pitch a long epic which you've condensed into a short story. It never works.
The purpose of Summer of Manga is to create, is to create storytellers. It's to help storytellers perfect what they do and to be discovered. And so, again, if you like I said before, you can be a great artist. I mean, we've turned down many great artists. We turned down a few in this summer of Manga so far, and one of them got pissed. They were like, "Oh, how dare you?" So look, without question, we good art. Look, as we said at the very beginning, and again, I trust everyone will go back and watch this entire episode. But as I said at the very beginning of this, this is the world of the internet, man. There are so many people who can take your place if you're trying to get in this business and you lack any of the credible things. You're not professional. You have a bad attitude. You're ill-informed. You don't do backgrounds. You don't draw different types of people. You don't, like to tell stories that have, female characters in them. Whatever you don't do, someone else will do. And because the internet's so vast, they will take your place. And so, you've got to be well-rounded. And the first thing to be well-rounded is just to be creating stories. Become a storyteller. Because if you can't tell a good story, you'll get by for a little while in your artwork. But at some point, that's going to stop because there's lots of good artists out there. Let's move on. We're going to try to get through these quickly because I need to wrap up here. Adam Songa Billy says, sorry, Adam, I know I screwed your name up. I have a question. If you were to publish a creator in your magazine, will he keep the rights to the work, or is your policy different? No, that's a great question. Really simple answer. Just about every series in Saturday AM is creator owned. And when I say just about, because there are a handful of series like Clock Striker, like Master World, Play World of Ghosts, that are owned by me. I own the company, and therefore we have creators working on them who are working for some sort of compensation or some sort of advancement inside of the company. So from that standpoint, without question, Apple Black's owned by White. Jen owns Zero. We have no intention of trying to be a factory that just uses creators in that world. Nothing wrong with it. People who do it love it. Spider-Man's been around for a long time, but that's not who we are. So if we were to publish you and we liked your concept, in fact, if we were to publish you and we said, look, we like your concept, you need to do this, change this, change that, change this, you still would own your concept, even though we probably helped you do a lot of difference to it, or created a lot of differences in it that made it the series that ultimately is successful. That's fine. We don't care. Obviously, we care about the exclusivity, but we don't care about who owns it because we trust that if we treat you right, you'll treat us right. Anno Trick says, no, I don't know what they're saying. Ink Slicer says, what do you think is the absolute worst thing a short comic pitch can do in terms of how it lays out its concept? I think we've addressed this tonight plenty. I think we've addressed this. Look, if you're going to submit a concept, be truly invested in trying to tell a short story. Be invested in the story. That's the key part about the short story is the story. When you're trying to promote a comic book series, again, the problem is that most of you have never done a comic book series. Most of you have never done 2 chapters, 10 pages. And so the problem is that again, as a publisher, it's hard for me to take that seriously. But more importantly is that if you've never actually told a story from start to finish, then I can't even trust that you know how to tell a short story. It's about the story. It's about the story. So the mistake that people make, and if you watch the episode again when it finally uploads to the website or to the YouTube channel, watch the story in full. But folks, it's about the story. The worst mistake you can make is having a concept that's about just basically what you want to do. It's your fan fiction about Naruto or Dragon Ball. It's not having to do with you telling a story that's got a legitimate beginning, middle, and end, and it's got a surprising element that will make you go, oh, it's kind of cool, it's kind of interesting, it's kind of different. That's what you want.
Yeah, and I just want to add one quick thing to that. Doing a short story means you have something finished. So many people start things and then it just disappears, right? And
right.
Completing a short story, you can say, I've done this from big, like,
that's right.
Not just in a story beginning, middle, end, but I got this project to completion. And yeah, so it's good for you as well. Like, even if you don't end up in Saturday AM with a long series, the fact that you can show somebody a whole product is better than say, here's something that I started but never finished.
That's right. That's very true. Exactly. That's very true. That I'm glad you said that, because that really is the key, folks. I've said this many, many times before. Look, Saturday AM is not easy, folks. There's so many of you guys, and trust me, this video will get seen 500 times before the next week or so. And that's just, and I love that. I love the fact that we can make long videos like this, talking about the stuff we talk about, and you guys support it heavily. That's great. But here's the reality. I say this every video. I say it all the time. 99% of you won't get in Saturday AM. It's not because we're awesome. It's not because we're exclusive. It's not because we're assholes. It's not because of anything. It's because we're a small company. We just don't have the bandwidth to do that. Plus, we have a business model. We're not trying to be like the other companies. That's why we're still here. I will say this till I'm blue in the face. The greatest thing about Saturday AM is the fact that we started this company 4 years ago and we're still here. We have outlived companies that are far bigger than us. We've had competitors who've come in with more money, more promotion, more opportunities, and they still haven't been able to really overtake us because we know what we're about. We're not trying to be something that we're not, and we're focused. The best thing that can happen with things like March Art Madness, and Summer of Manga, the best thing that can happen is that you get the feedback, you get the experience, and you get the sense of accomplishment from having actually gotten into Initial Saturday AM that you can then take with you on your own journey somewhere else or into another career even. I mean, I think the things that you learn in doing the stuff that we're doing will help you in other places. And the best part, the reason I know that is because so many of our competitors came from this group we had called Pilot Manga. So many of our competitors, the people who want to compete with us, came from our Pilot Manga group. So folks, trust me when I tell you that even though they probably will never admit it, we know, we got the archives, we know where they came from, and we know that the same knowledge I'm dropping to you tonight, they've gotten years ago, and they still use it to this day. They will never admit it. Maybe not. Maybe some of them have. Some of them written me long notes after the fact saying, I didn't used to think this, you should think that, but today, man, I wish I stayed in the group, man. The stuff you told me, that stuff worked out for me here, worked out for me there. It's helping me do this in the future, yada, yada, yada. It's great, but that's the best you can get out of this is just a sense of accomplishment and the knowledge that comes with it. My mom always said, no one can take experience away from you. No one. So the experience is what you live for, folks. That's what makes you what you will be in the future is the experience. Let's go real quickly down the list here. We got Angel Lewis says DID art wasn't there like that. So what do you look for in our portfolio's quality? I don't think that's fair. I mean, I think Jeff Duvall is great. I'm a big fan of Frey. Look, we have artists who draw very differently. I mean, Jen is a fantastic artist. He draws very differently than White. White draws very differently from Andrea Voros. They draw very differently from Jay Oden. I mean, art, again, as I said before, it's a story. And so what we saw with Jeff Duvall, and we've published Jeff Duvall before, by the way, is that he's just a great storyteller. So we have faith and trust in him. Let's see here. Travis Herndon says, how would you write world building for your stories? Would you do a majority of your world building early on, let people understand it better? So folks, questions like this, I'm not going to address that right now because again, we got lots of episodes coming a pitch session and we'll get into things like this. So I get you guys are asking a lot of questions. I want to just kind of get to the core questions, but stuff like this that are more involved, we'll get to these later. Trust me. So just please hold on. Too Blind to You says, even if I get turned down, I'm still going to do my hero manga. That's great. Shamma Ross says, if someone sent you a second pitch after the first one, would you hold it against them? Again, the way Summer of Manga is set up is that unless we specifically are intrigued by what you've submitted, but we don't want to do it, but we are intrigued by you as a creator and by your creativity, and we say, hey, we'd like another pitch from you, you can't submit a second pitch. So there's that. Mika Tisdale says, do you know of any good books on writing short stories? Folks, we're going to get into writing. We're going to get into this later, so just let's hold off on that question. We've already answered, will Summer of Manga come to Saturday PM? It will. We'll announce that later. Brown Montgomery says, I'm working on my own manga now. I really appreciate the info you guys are dropping. Thank you, Brian. Yawasop Pascal says, do you still publish artists who already have their work copywritten? Yeah, I mean, the copyrights have nothing to do with us. So, yeah, I mean, by the way, if you're going to spend money copywriting, you can spend money to advertise. I mean, if you're going to spend money on something you don't have to do, then definitely spend money advertising because that's something that you do need to do. Let's see. I have an adult comic for Saturday PM too. That's great. That doesn't mean we're going to publish it or anything like that. But the Ink Slicer says, any experiences of petty artists? But real quickly on the Saturday PM thing, that person wrote, I have an adult comic for Saturday PM. Folks, I'm going to say this right now. The vast majority of you won't get in Saturday PM. Let me just put that out there. Saturday AM is tough. Saturday PM is nearly impossible. We look for far stronger artistic and storytelling ability in Saturday PM than we do on Saturday AM. And the reason is because Saturday AM is meant for a younger audience. So we feel like we have more latitude to let creators kind of run and play with their series and work their way into it. Saturday PM, because it's dealing with mature themes, requires you to have some common sense, some maturity to what you're doing. If you're new, you've not done this before, you're not a published artist like Jen, I can almost guarantee you that you won't penetrate Saturday PM. That's just, that's just the reality. Saturday PM is not a game. It's not a place for people who are titillated by drawing an image of a naked character or violence, and they're not a very good artist, that's not going to work for you. We're not going to even entertain it. So just keep that in mind. Any experiences with petty artists you've rejected? Plenty. We could have a whole episode about that. Can a writer artist pair submit a pitch? Yes, of course. Hopefully you have, because I can tell you what won't happen if you're coming to us and you don't have a partner. We've had this happen plenty of times. If you tell us, hey, I got a great idea for comic book, you're gonna love it, I need an artist. You're SOL, because there's nothing we can do for you. Let's see here. So, I mean, let's see. Last question. Adam Songa Belay says, if I understand you correctly, Fred, the short story you want is a telling in the day of the life of Batman, for example. Can that be rebooted if the creator was to get accepted? I don't want a retelling of the life of Batman. I mean, I don't want a telling in the life of the day of Batman. I mean, I think you've probably heard me use that example. Yes, I've said how difficult that is for people who have these complicated story ideas that they want to tell. And I've said that I think that the vast majority of people couldn't even tell a Batman story if they tried. If I gave you $5,000 right now and said, give me a 10-page Batman story, most of you couldn't even do that. I mean, that's just the reality. That's the problem the internet has made, is that because it's given everybody a voice, it's made everyone think they can do stuff that they can't. And telling a story is really hard. And so, Batman is tough. And I'll just say that Batman, he seems simple. He probably is the easiest character to write out of all superhero characters because his motivations are so pure. At the same time, I guarantee the vast majority of people couldn't do it. We may do a contest about this at one point, but what I can say right now is that really, really tough. And so, yes, if you were to submit a short story and we liked it, like I just said tonight, The Vow. Would you like to see more of The Vow, Jen?
Yes.
Me too. So I said tonight, The Vow is a great short story. It's very possible we'll talk to Jamie DeJong, and if she's interested and we think it's something that would work, that we would publish a series of The Vow inside of Saturday AM. So who knows? But that's pretty much it. All the other questions here are just kind of retreading stuff we've already answered. So, Jen, anything else that you want to say before we wrap up?
Not really. Thanks everyone for checking out the episode and hanging out with us for a few hours. I need to get back to drawing zero. So yeah, that's about it.
Folks, again, Saturday AM, we are the world's most diverse shonen manga anthology. We mean that. It's not a game. It's not a joke. It's not funny. It's just the truth. We've got creators all around the world. We got fans all around the world. And we've got business associates all around the world. And no one's doing Saturday AM. No one's done Saturday AM nearly as long as we have. We are proud of that fact. We take that fact very seriously. We work very hard to do what we do. And so what I will say once again is that if you want to be a part of this, that's great. Subscribe so you know what in the hell it is we do. It is extraordinary that you want to be a part of something you've never actually read. So if you want to test it out, go to our website right now. It's www.saturday-am.com/issues. Download issue 88 and check out The Vow and check out Eidolon, 2 of the short stories that we talked about tonight. And take the survey, tell us what you think. You're also going to get some great comics in there from other people, which is fantastic. Our creators are fantastic. You got people like Jay Oden with Hammer. You got people like the guy who was on the call tonight, Jin Chan Yum Wai, who did Zero, King of Thieves. That's in issue 89. Both those issues are free. Download them right now. And then if you want to continue to support us, $30 or $25 right now. So that's limited, folks. So do it right now. $25 gets you up to 20 issues of Saturday AM. That includes creators like White Manga, Andrea Voros, Jay Oden, Jen, Raymond Brown, Tony Dawkins, Anthony Jackson, so on and so forth. And it gets you up to 6 issues of Saturday PM, which is our seinen manga anthology. Diverse. You got creators from New Zealand, from Australia, from the United Kingdom, from Nicaragua, all inside of Saturday PM, folks. We're a few people doing what we do, folks. Support this sort of creativity. Support original creators producing original work that is diverse, reflects the entire world, done in the manga aesthetic and style. We have beautiful, sexy, intelligent cosplay models in every issue of Saturday PM. And in Saturday AM, you get some of the best shonen style comic books and the world's most diverse shonen comic books, period. Check it out. Premium subscription. Starts at right now, $25. You get all those 2 magazines. You get up to those issues per year. Support us. We really appreciate it. We got big things coming later on, folks. Episode number 2 of Pitch Session will happen next week. We'll be previewing some future Pitch Session creators. We'll be talking more about creativity, and we'll give you our personal reviews on pitches that we liked, pitches we didn't like, and we'll review the pitches that became short stories that we published inside of issue 89. So with that, folks, it's Frederick L. Jones, founder, publisher of Saturday AM. Thank you for your time tonight. On behalf of the team here, I want to also thank Jen for taking time out of his schedule, and we will see you next week. Take care, everybody.